Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is a Wednesday, June 11th. We are live and we are early. And the reason we are early is because in about 8 minutes, we are going to be getting CPI, Consumer Price Index data. And that is actually the least interesting thing, or I would say the least exciting thing from what's happening this morning. Folks, 2 minutes ago, literally 2 minutes ago, before I went live, here you go. The deal is done, apparently, according to President Trump. This is what he tweeted. Our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me. Full magnets and any necessary rare earth minerals will be supplied upfront by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, which he didn't go into full detail on. I'm sure there's a lot of things, but the one thing he did say is including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. And then he says we are getting a total of 55% tariffs, aka we're tariffing China 55%. China is tariffing us 10% overall. Our relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So look, this is obviously very bullish. However, I think we got to give a little bit of a caveat here. I don't know if the market fully believes everything that Trump is saying right here, or maybe if they do, they're looking for a little bit more clarity. So two things could be happening right now. Either the announcement that Trump just tweeted right now was kind of baked into the past couple of days of green that we've seen, which is very fair, or you would expect the markets to really have some bullish momentum as soon as this was announced. But as you're reading it, you have some questions, right? The basic questions are, number one, how the hell are we getting away with 55% versus 10%? Because remember, the last the negotiation we had on the tariff pause, it was only 30%. So that's increased by 25%. I don't know how China agreed to only tariff us 10% overall, but we agreed to do 55%, but they agreed to be tariffed by 55%. Now, obviously, maybe we gave them Nvidia chips, right? We gave them something where they're like, all right, we'll pay some more tariffs, but just give us the chips. Like maybe there is a way in which this deal is manifesting in the exact sort of terminology that Trump is describing right here. But I think the market is not really believing it, at least so far. The rare earth mineral stuff that has been rumored over the past couple of weeks, that seems very obvious that China is giving that up front. But the most important part of what Trump is saying right here is that we agreed to a bunch of things, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities. Chinese students in our universities and going to Harvard is like whatever. I mean, that I don't think China really went to London to negotiate to get their bright minds to be able to go to Harvard and Stanford. I think there's a lot more that they got, but Trump's not explaining exactly what we gave up yet because maybe he doesn't want to yet. And when we get those details, that's when the market is going to get really excited, because that's when the market could say, oh, we gave them some Nvidia chips. That's good for Nvidia. Or, oh, we're opening up different parts of the supply chain that we didn't open up to them before. Or maybe we are getting more pharmaceutical supplies that we didn't get before. Like there's more details to this that Lutnick, Greer, and Besant will be giving us probably soon. I would imagine in the next 24 hours. But as of right now, we don't have those details. Nonetheless, super bullish. Markets are relatively green in the pre-market and flat. So we're not really mooning right here. We do have CPI coming up in 5 minutes. One thing that's important to understand is that, hey, if we get a crappy CPI, maybe Trump tweeted this 10 minutes before CPI to be able to say, yeah, exactly. Like if he knows that CPI is going to be hot, he wanted something to kind of lessen the blow. CPI expectations right now are 2.5%. Actually, the median projection is 2.4%. My guess is going to be 2.4 or 2.5. I don't know if this CPI, this CPI is going to be important. I don't know how much it's going to matter in the broad scheme of getting a rate cut. We know we're not getting a rate cut anytime soon. Now, if we get to 2.6, 2.7, that's an issue. That means inflation is still sticky. And even if it's only like a monthly metric, that's not good. But in the next 4 minutes, we're going to see how the market reacts to a median forecast of 2.4%. Hopefully that comes in at 2.4. And then how the market reacts to the details of the China deal that we really don't have a lot of yet, but hopefully we will be getting them soon. Lutnick last night said that negotiations went very well and that we are going to be agreeing to a framework once the president and Xi Jinping officially talk on the phone and agree. It's going to be the Geneva consensus plus everything that Trump mentioned this morning, but we just don't have enough details on it. And so I think hopefully in the next 48 hours, we get some better understandings of what the data looks like. Put in the chat what number you think we're going to get for CPI. I'm thinking 2.4 to 2.5. Like, I don't think it's going to be below 2.4. I don't think it's going to be above 2.5. So I would say it's within that range, which means the market should be relatively flat in terms of its expectation. If we do get 2.2, I think we're going to be flying in terms of stock prices. If we get anywhere above 2.5, then I think I don't think we have to tank, but markets definitely wouldn't love it. Granted, I think markets are looking for a reason to tank because we've been green for the past 2 months now. So I wouldn't put it past the markets to take at least a 2% dip today if we get an aggressive CPI. But I don't think we're going to get that aggressive of a CPI. This is the first CPI after a full month of tariffs, though. So, there is a world where hey, the tariffs were so aggressive and inflation's actually moving up. And this will be the first report that shows us that. We're going to go deeper into the Elon Trump stuff. We got 3 minutes until CPI, but this last night was also posted by Mr. Elon Musk. A lot of you guys are saying 2.4 in the chat. I agree with pretty much everything that you guys are saying. Some of you guys are saying below 2.2. I don't know if it's going to be that good, but I don't think it's going to be that bad either. Elon tweeted at 3:04 a.m. Why was I up at 3:04 a.m.? I don't know, but I was up and I saw this tweeted, and then I posted at 3:11 a.m. Elon's tweet, which he said, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." I don't know why I was up last night that late, but I'm happy I was because I got to see this in real time. Actually, I bought some Tesla as soon as I didn't buy a lot of Tesla, but as soon as I saw this, I went to the Robinhood overnight markets and I bought some Tesla. I was like, this market's going to like this. And market so far likes this. Tesla right here, 333 in the pre-markets, almost as if the 270 drop never happened because Trump and Elon are, I don't want to say besties again, but they're at least it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be. And then Trump responded this morning. He was asked if he could reconcile with Elon Musk. He said, "I guess I could." Yeah, there you go. I guess I could. So, I mean, dude, look, I'm not saying the bromance is like the bull case on Tesla. I still think Q2 is going to be horrible. And I think, there might be an opportunity to get in at 270 again, just because the earnings are not going to be the best. But if the only reason the stock fell to 270 was because of this bromance being over, maybe the bromance is not in the best situation, but it's definitely not over anymore, given that Trump is ready to reconcile the relationship and Elon just apologized. Now, maybe Elon's apologizing because Robotaxi is coming out soon. We do have some updates on that. We saw the first ever Robotaxi video in Austin, Texas yesterday, so that was also a big deal for the stock. But nonetheless, it seems like if you are heavy in Tesla and you didn't want Elon to be beefing with the president, he might not be beefing with the president anymore, which is very, very exciting. All right, folks, here we go. CPI. It is time to see. Again, market's expecting 2.5. Let's see what we get. Maybe, just maybe, we can come in below that. I'm not expecting too much below, but if we can, that would be very, very exciting. We're going to look at core. We're going to look at the month over month, the yearly. And then we're going to see what the market says. Oh, 2.4. We got 2.4. We got 2.4, folks. Not bad. 2.4 month over month. 0.1. The market wanted 0.2. That's a beat. 2.8 versus 2.9 on core yearly. That's a beat. 0.1 versus 0.3 on the core monthly. That's a beat. And then 2.4 versus 2.5 on the year over year. That's a beat. We have beat on all four metrics when it comes to CPI. Again, 2.8 versus 2.9 on core yearly. That's a beat. 0.1 versus 0.3 on monthly. That's a beat. 0.1 versus 0.2 on monthly without core. That's a beat. And then 2.4 versus 2.5 without core on the yearly. That is a beat. Does the market like it? The market likes it, folks. Tessie, 335. Nvidia, 144.77. Palantir, 133.49. Robinhood, 73.23. SoFi, 14.59. Googs, back above 180. Amazon, is she trying to push 220 today? 218 on Amazon. Meta, 705. Salesforce, 268. Elf is at 119. Pinterest is up. Microsoft, new all-time highs. MicroStrategy, 393. Where is Bitcoin? 109. You do have a little bit of a green candle right there on Bitcoin. AppLovin, 387. Duolingo, 485. JD, 34.23. Where is AMD? AMD is 124. That's green. That's up 1%. Nvidia trying to push 145. Tessie maybe tries to go for 340 today. And then pound share, 133.50. Not bad. Not bad at all. These are some decent numbers. Let's get some more coverage on this right now.
Month in a row. If you want a smaller number than that, you're going all the way back to March of 21 when it was up 1.6. Now, I always like to look at the indices. These indices go back quite a ways. If you look at CPI headline index, it goes back to 1913, and the number today, 321.465, might not mean anything to viewers intrinsically, but it is the highest level on this index ever, going back to 1913. That should mean something. And if we strip out the all-important food and energy, it comes in at 326.854. Once again, this number started out in 1957 on the core. It's never been higher. We see that the pre-opening equities, well, they have improved rather markedly. We now see green, and interest rates have dropped dramatically.
Wow, guys, the market really does like this. The 10-year 4.45, so that one is coming down nicely. The 30-year as well is coming down. Folks, this was good. This was a good one. This was good. 30-year and the 10-year. 30-year 4.93, 10-year at 4.4. Let's go deeper into the CPI numbers and see what the BLS is saying. But folks, this was what we needed. This was what we needed. Let me check on the probabilities on the rate cuts real quick. Again, it is a beat across the board on CPI. Fed futures probabilities. June cut is still saying basically 99.8% chance that we're not going to get a cut. July, 12%. All right, so July not moving too much. September is up to 50%, though, so that's nice. At least September, it looks like maybe we get a cut when it comes to September, and that would be a good thing. Yeah, traders right here, add to bets on September start to Fed rate cuts after CPI data. It is going to be exactly like 2024 when Jay Powell likely misses throughout the entire summer, but the market knows that inflation's falling off a cliff. We know we're going to get some trade deals, and then eventually we are going to get that September cut. All right, let's get some more details. The index for shelter rose 0.3% in May and was the primary factor in all items monthly increase. Okay, so shelter was the main reason for the month over month from 2.3 to 2.4% increase. Again, the market expected 2.5, so we did get a beat on the headline inflation number. The food index increased 0.3% as of both its major components. The index for food at home and index for food away from home also rose 0.3%. In contrast, the energy index declined 1% in May. That's a big drop as the gasoline index fell over the month. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.1% in May, following a 0.2% increase in April. Indices that increased over the month include medical care, motor vehicle insurance, household furnishings, operations, personal care, and education. Okay. The indices for airline, used cars and trucks, new vehicles, and apparel were all among the major indices that decreased in May. So you had airline, used cars, new vehicles, apparel come down. You had medical care, motor vehicle insurance, household, personal care, and education go up. And then again, we got a beat across the board on monthly and yearly and core when it comes to CPI. Markets like this way more than the China stuff that Trump announced. If you're just joining Trump there, oh wow, S&P 605. S&P was at 602 before we got CPI. So if you're just joining, Trump did put out a tweet right before CPI, and he said that the deal with China is officially done. And he didn't give a lot of details, but he did say we're going to be tariffing China 55% and that China is going to be tariffing us 10%. I don't know how we negotiated to the point where we're tariffing them 45% more than they're tariffing us, but I imagine we gave up some major concessions like Nvidia chips. And China probably, because of their strategic interests, agreed to it. So we should be getting more details. And if this deal is agreed to, I mean, look at the first sentence. He says, our deal is done. Now, either he's like sugarcoating it or legitimately the deal is done. And I don't know. We're going to find out. But if the deal is done, I mean, I was thinking best case scenario by end of August, maybe we have some level of a deal. It's June 11th. I mean, if the deal is done by the end of this month, like a real deal, not just like a framework, but like a real deal, that would be pretty incredible. And so I guess we just have to see now how likely is it that that is going to be the case. And if it is, then we should hopefully get some more momentum. Nvidia 145. Did we get it? Did we get it? Oh, we got it. There she goes. Such a beauty. Such a beauty. 145 on Nvidia. She couldn't crack it yesterday. She was at 144.99. We needed $145 million to get there, but now we are at 145 right here in the pre-market. Now it is pre-market. Volumes are a little bit, lighter, but still very nice to see some of this momentum. Palantir right here, 134. Tessie, 335. We'll talk more about Tesla in a bit. Robin at 73.43. Grab, we got some big updates on Grab that we'll talk about. I think it's actually the 7% drop yesterday was actually really good for Grab, and we'll talk about why it was really good for Grab in a second. So we'll go deeper on that. Google right here at 180.5. And the rest of the market, the semis, SMCI and AMD. SMCI is up 2%. Dell is up about 1%. AMD is up about 1%. Micron is up about 2%. And then Broadcom right here is also up about 1%, getting some momentum. Let's get a little bit more coverage, and then we will keep going from there.
Even more telling about tariffs, but a lot of them were looking for something. We just had Michelle Girard on. She's been looking at something worse every month. Once again, it didn't happen.
That those 9 Democratic senators trying to have this looked into it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics
Right.
have political
But Rick-
motivations. Are you even hinting that?
No, but Rick, 3%. People said we'll go back to 3, and it didn't. It stayed at 2.8, right? So this is
Now,
definitely.
listen, I'm very surprised. It's been well behaved. It has. It has been well behaved.
But doesn't mean next month, things can change quickly. Steve Leisman, I don't know whether you thought we're going to get your reaction. I don't know whether you thought this would be the month where we started seeing at least some effect, or do we got to wait another month? Or does it never come? That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I want to make a broader point here, Joe, which is this. I still think there is tariff impact to come. You can see a little bit of tariff impact in places like appliances up 0.8% 2 months in a row. Something important to me, music equipment up 0.4, photo equipment up 1.6. But that's not the broader point I want to make. I want to make this point, which is that the concern at the Federal Reserve was not just that tariff-related prices would go up. It's that it would spread more broadly to other tariff prices, and that the issue of inflation expectations, which you talked about very eloquently this morning with Richard Clarida, would be an issue for the Federal Reserve. Not only did we get a decline in inflation expectations earlier this week from the important New York Fed report, but even if I zero in on just the tariff-related increases, I look elsewhere and I do not see broader impacts on inflation from the tariffs.
Which is really important because J-Pow's not cutting because of the tariffs. We got the Robinhood monthly matrix today. Holy crap. I didn't know that was coming out. All right, well, I'll pull that up in a second. But if we're not seeing tariff-related increases to inflation, J-Pow just doesn't have a reason to keep rates this high.
So yes, I expect tariffs prices to come. You cannot collect year-to-date $70 billion in tariff revenue and not have prices go up. That is going to happen. The broader concern at the Federal Reserve is that it spreads to other areas. We do not see that. I think that's an important development.
That is absolutely an important development. If we don't actually see that in manifesting in a real way, then I don't think J-Pow has any reason to keep rates this high. Now, even if we don't get the June-July cut, it does give him the framework to give us that September cut. You have some banks like Bank of America saying that we're not going to get any cuts this year. Just feels unlikely. We should be getting at least one, if not two, by the end of the year if tariff-related inflation is not going to be that big of a deal. Robinhood May monthly metrics, folks. I didn't know it was coming out, but here you go. It is coming out, and we are officially live. So Robinhood monthly metrics, total platform assets, $255 billion. Net deposits, $3.5 billion. Cash sweeps at $30.8 billion. Funded customers, that's a low number. We got 5,000 new customers month over month. Okay, I get May was not, that is weird. That one's actually, I think that's the lowest month we've ever had in terms of funded customers. Month over month, 5,000. Unless that's a typo, we added 5,000 customers in the month of May. I feel like that's a typo. I feel like that should say 50. That's kind of weird. Dude, the stock's not really reacting to that 73.30, but yeah, I guess we added 5,000 customers in the month of May. That's a little low, but nonetheless, there you go. So that's what we got on the May customers. Equity 181. That's a big jump. We knew that was going to be big. Crypto 11.7, big jump month over month. Options 180. That's a big jump in terms of the amount of contracts. And then margin book 9 billion. So these numbers look phenomenal, but this number is weird. 5,000 funded accounts in May. They had to leave out a zero, right? Dude, that's just like Robinhood gets 5,000 downloads a day on the App Store. That's weird. That one's really weird. I feel like they missed a zero there. That is very, yeah. That dude, I think they had to. They usually do around that 50 to 75K a month. I'm pretty sure they're missing a zero. 5,000 is like, it's unfathomable. They only had 5,000. That's quality, not quantity. No, dude, but Robinhood is a $60 billion company. They're not adding 5,000 customers a month. If they are, then I mean that it was a bad month. But it doesn't make any sense. You can't have all-time highs across every metric and then add only 5,000 customers. This is a company that spends $100 million on marketing. There's no way in hell. So I think that's a typo, guys. I'm going to try to find if that's a typo. If that's not a typo, then yeah, I guess we added 5,000 new accounts in the month of May. And regardless, then, the activity we got from those accounts, including our existing customers, was enough to get really good momentum in the month of May. But it's very confusing that they had those good metrics, but added 5,000 accounts. It's in the press release. Let me pull it up. It was 5,000 super rich people, maybe. I mean, I don't think that. Look, that's not a thesis break or anything like that. That's just you don't expect. When's the last time Robinhood had 5,000 users in a month like that? I think you have to go back to like when they were a startup. Like that's even in the bear market, they were adding more than that. Monthly metrics PDF. Let me see. And if it's not a mistake, then yeah, it looks like it's not a mistake. Up about 5,000 from April. Okay, that's 5,000 triple V's. Yeah, shout out to Triple V in the chat. Thank you for the $100 super chat, brother. Thank you for being here again. CPI was really good today. We'll talk more about CPI, but that is confusing, dude. Like I can't even sugarcoat that. That 5,000 customers in the month of May is weird, dude. That they usually. What do they say? Funded customers grew by approximately 5,000 after the impact of required. Oh, hold on. Escheatment of approximately 100,000 low balance account. What the hell is escheatment? That's a hell of a word. Escheatment means the process of transferring assets to the state. What? What is that word? Define escheatment. Does anyone know what that means? In May, funded customers grew by approximately 5,000 after the impact of required escheatment of approximately 100,000 low balance accounts. Escheatment is a legal process where unclaimed or abandoned property is transferred to the state when the owner is unknown and cannot be located. Okay, so did they just like get rid of a lot of dead accounts? Dormant assets? Yeah, but even that, why, like net new funded accounts, how is that only 5,000 even if you get rid of the old accounts? That is weird to me. That is very weird. Like even, okay, so let's say there's 100,000 abandoned accounts. Okay, let's say you get rid of those. How come there's only 5,000 net new customers that are joining? That is kind of weird, dude. We're going to have to look into that. That is kind of weird. Yeah, so they added 105,000 adjusted. So that means 100,000 accounts were fake that they added in the month of May and only 5,000 were real. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I don't know. That one is a weird. I can't even. I got to look deeper into that. But regardless, the rest of the metrics that we knew were going to be good were pretty damn good. All-time highs across the board with equities, options, and margin and AUC. Crypto had a big increase from 8 to 11 billion, which is very important because that is one of their largest take rates in terms of the margins that they have. But that funded customer thing is definitely very weird. Stock's not reacting to it. Market really doesn't care. Robinhood 73.26, Tesla 335, Nvidia just below 145, and then Palantir 133.68. On the day. It means they added 105,000 in May and removed 100,000 old accounts. Oh, okay. Hold on. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Because adding 5,000 new accounts makes just no, like that makes no sense. Okay. So they're reporting the net number of accounts they added after getting, they've never, this is confusing to me because they've never reported escheatment levels of accounts in combination with the net new funded accounts. Okay, so that makes more sense. They added 105,000. They got rid of 100,000. That makes a lot more sense. I'm sorry, guys. I was slow on that. I'm sorry. I was slow on that. Let me get some sleep. I was up. I had like 2 hours of sleep. That's fair. Okay, cool. So they added 105,000 accounts. That's good. So that's what we got in the context of Robinhood. If you are just joining, CPI was a beat across the board. There you go on CPI. That's why the markets are up right now. We have CPI coming in at 0.1% month over month, 2.4 year over year, 0.1% core, 2.8 core. It really does feel like it's time to cut interest rates in the United States of America as we are beating on every single metric across the board when it comes to CPI. It was a group project. Yes. It was Yo, usually I was the guy in the group project who was doing all the work. Okay. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 group projects in my life where I was like, I'm not doing shit. You guys do this. I'm just going to be around for the ride. No, actually, I remember one of the ones I did in college, my senior year, because I was like, it was senior year. I was so tired. I didn't feel like trying. Dude, I didn't meet with the group for like 3 months. It was a semester long project. I showed up the day we had to present and I did all the talking. Like they did all the presentation, all the math, all the PowerPoint stuff. I showed up and I talked for 20 minutes. We got an A+. Because your boy knows how to talk, you know what I'm saying? Your boy was able to, make a nice presentation, and I got away with it. My communication skills were able to navigate the presentation. So I did the talking; they did all the actual work. But usually I participate in doing the work. I had a 4.2 GPA in high school. Okay, I was a bit of a nerd, so you guys help me with this one. So CPI is a beat across the board. Very good for CPI. And then the next big thing to talk about real quick, we'll do Trump and Elon, and then we'll get into Nvidia because Jensen is at Paris right now. And he said a lot of things, which Martin Shkreli might not be that happy about. So if you're just joining, the big headline of the day, President Trump has accepted Elon's apology. Elon apologized last night at 3:04 a.m. Eastern. He said, I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far. They went too far. Tesla pumped immediately last night when he said this. I did buy some Tesla last night. As soon as I saw this at 3 a.m., I was like, I think markets are going to like this. So I bought just a little bit of Tesla just to kind of play what the pump could be like on this. And then Trump this morning was asked if he could reconcile with Elon Musk, and he said, I guess I could. He said, I guess I could. So now, look, it is definitely very confusing that Elon said this guy was on the Epstein's list, and a week later, 2 days later, he deletes the tweets. A week later at 3 a.m., which is 12 a.m. Pacific time, because I believe he's in California, he tweeted, hey, I'm sorry that I posted this. But regardless, this is how it's playing out, and maybe this is rather bullish for the broader story on Tesla, simply because of the fact that now there's not going to be this beef with the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man. On top of that, if you did not see this last night, I'm pretty sure most people saw this. This was the video that came out last night. 2 robotaxis in Austin that were doing their first drive. One could argue that after this video came out and Tesla pumped on this video, Elon said, hey, like things are going good. We have momentum. Sentiment is strong. Tesla stock kind of recovering all of its gains. Let me just issue this apology now that we have a robotaxi that's getting ready to launch. By the way, he said June 22nd. That's the tentative date. June 22nd. He said it could be extended to June 28th, but it was supposed to be June 12th. That got extended to the end of June. This tends to happen with Elon. We'll see if that goes into July. But he said by the end of June, we will have the first robotaxi officially give a ride to someone in Austin. Again, this is not going to be hundreds of thousands of rides overnight, but it is a big deal because it's finally happening based on what we're seeing right here. And as long as that momentum continues, that would obviously be something that is very, very bullish for Tesla. Tesla right here, 334 in the pre-markets. Robin at 73.08, Palantir 133, Nvidia just below 145. The S&P 500 604.4 currently on the day, based on what we got. Also, if you're just joining, so the 2 big updates, we just talked about CPI. The other big update was the Trump tweet on China. Again, this one's a bit confusing because we don't really know if the deal is done, but Trump is saying the deal is done. Let's get a little bit of coverage on that. And I think we'll get a lot more details in the coming hours on the actual framework of what the deal looks like. But if it is done, I think markets will be pretty happy about it.
To China, what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which he says has always been good with him. He goes on to say, we are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. The relationship is excellent. So clearly, President Trump has been briefed now on these talks, and he's confirming what we had been talking about for the past 2 days, that the focus really stayed on China's rare earths, which should now start to flow to the U.S. and on the U.S.'s export restrictions, which should ease up in return. Here's Howard Lutnick talking about the same topic last night to reporters.
We do absolutely expect that the topic of rare earth minerals and magnets with respect to the United States of America will be resolved in this framework implementation. That is a fundamental part of that. Also, there were a number of measures the United States of America put on when those rare earths were not coming. You should expect those to come off sort of, as President Trump said, in a balanced way. When they approve the licenses, then you should expect that our export implementation will come down as well.
So I put it this way, guys, taking everything we just heard, both from the president and from the Commerce Secretary, this is definitely a step in the right direction, but it is a somewhat small one. It roughly puts things back to where they were after Geneva, when the U.S. thought that the rare earths issue was settled. But given that there was no timeline then for China to abide by, the U.S. then felt China was slow walking the deal. Now we are back on track, clearly. Trump saying the relationship is excellent, but we have to wait to see whether there might be a timeline attached this time, and then whether and how quickly the two sides follow through. Guys.
Okay, so the reason you guys are all confused, along with myself, and the reason the markets might not be overtly bullish about this deal is because, number one, how are we doing 55% and they're only doing 10%? Again, maybe we negotiated really good and we gave up some concessions that they cared about as well. But that's confusing because we have 30%. Now we're adding another 25%. So we're at 55. They're at 10. That doesn't really seem like a fair deal to China unless we gave up a lot of things that China wanted, which it seems like we did. If this is the framework of the deal, but we don't have those details yet. Chips, there is no news about chips. I was looking for news this morning about chips. I really wanted news about chips because if we got some news about Nvidia can sell back into China while Jensen is on the GTC stage right now, Nvidia might have a shot to really push 150 today, but there is no details on chips. And hopefully we were able to negotiate the increased tariff rates from the US to China in order for us to also be able to sell Nvidia chips into China and get rid of the export controls. But we have no details on that. So, if you're kind of buying Nvidia today just based on that rumor, we just don't know. And I don't know if today we're going to get any more details. I would hope in the next few hours we do. But if we didn't attach export controls in this trade negotiations, but it would be hard to believe we don't because it's like that's one of the big bargaining chips we have. That would mean that Nvidia just doesn't get that revenue for the rest of the year until we get rid of those export controls. So that is something that we have to look out for, but no updates on that currently right now in the context of Nvidia, but it is up based on CPI. Palantir right here, 133.59. Google just below 180. Amazon right here, 218. Meta at 703. And then you got Robinhood at 73.08 currently right now. So yeah, I don't think the markets are really pumping on this China deal because as bullish as it is, people are still confused. Like the only thing Trump mentioned is that we're going to let Chinese students attend our universities. That is not what China went to Switzerland and London for, the right to go to Harvard. Like that's just, obviously that's the least important thing that they probably got out of these negotiations. So that begs the question, what else did we give them? And I think Trump is being strategic right now and not saying what we gave them yet, but eventually we should find out. And hopefully if we do, that'll be very important. Yeah, 55% tariffs is insane. I agree. So the question is, what did we give up? We had to give up something for China to agree to 55% tariffs. Something that was so good that China was like, you know what? We'd rather pay 55 cents on every dollar because we're getting something so good. And my gut reaction is Nvidia. Like we gave them chips. They want our chips. We gave them chips. Maybe we gave them Blackwell. Maybe it's not just H20. I mean, if we said, hey, you guys can have Blackwell instead of just H20, and we're just gonna fully give you the best top of the line chips, but you have to take these steep tariffs. If I'm China, I do that deal. If we can get Blackwell and not the crappy H20, and we have to pay a little bit more in tariffs, I think that's not the worst deal in the world. So this is gonna be important. We got to see. We did not give up Taiwan, bro. Goodness gracious, dude. That we gave up something. I don't know what we gave up, but if it's actually 55 versus 10, that's a 45%. Something had to justify 45%. And I don't know what it is, but eventually we should be able to find out, hopefully in the coming weeks. China's not paying the 55%. See, it's unbelievable. And I think the market doesn't believe it either because as soon as the news came out, the markets are not green right now because of this Trump tweet. They were red on the Trump tweet. They're green because CPI was a beat across the board. So I think the markets are also not believing that this thing is actually as real as Trump says it is, but hopefully we get some more details soon and we get to find out. All right, cool. So let me do a quick 5 minutes on Grab and then we'll get into all the stuff with Nvidia. We did get some big updates from Grab last night. Do a quick 5 minutes and then we will move on from that one and keep going from there. Okay, so Grab, I am starting to believe, first of all, I'm just getting really excited about this story because at this point, this is becoming pretty obvious to me and maybe I'll be wrong, but that's what makes it fun, right? That's what makes it fun because you just don't know. With Robinhood, you just didn't know. With Palantir, you just didn't know. This is a new journey. You just don't know, but we do have some pretty fascinating developments. Grab upsized their convertible note offering yesterday from 1.25 to 1.5 billion. So that means they added another $250 million to the convertible note. Why? Because there was way more investor demand to give them $250 million. By the way, at a 0% coupon. They did a micro strategy type of deal where they're getting basically free money for 0% contingent on how the stock converts. And we'll talk about those details in a second. Due in 2030. And they don't have to pay anything for it. They don't have to pay anything for it. Now, what is the conversion upside, right? Because this is the important thing for investors. It's a 40% premium. A 40%. This is literally kind of like MicroStrategy types of deals where sailors like, hey, I will guarantee you 40% upside on a stock, which is way better than like, 0.75% maturities on your interest on the coupons. But you guys have to give me free money. And why do they give him free money? They give Saylor free money because they believe that Saylor is going to take that money, buy Bitcoin, and then do something pretty good with it. So the implication of this means that if the stock price is below 655, currently it's at 468, so that's the 40% premium in 2030, the max dilution to the stock is only 5.4%. If it's above 655 in 2030, the cost of this debt is effectively zero, no dilution, no interest. Let me say that again. If by 2030, or sorry, I said the opposite. If the stock is below 655, which means it hasn't moved up 40% in the next 5 years, which I expect it, given it's a growth stock, to move above that in the next 5 years. The cost of the debt is zero. There's no dilution, no interest. If it's above 655 and the notes end up converting and investors get their 40% upside, the max dilution is only 5.4%, which is incredible. And by then, you would imagine Grab has close to $10 billion in cash. They could easily buy back that 5.4% over the coming years. And the net actual effect of that dilution would likely be 1 or 2% versus 5.4%. This is a very, very good deal for Grab. And the reason this is also such a good deal for Grab, this is what Kris tweeted last night, and this is why I mentioned in the beginning of the show that it's good that the stock fell 7%, is because it's a 0% coupon, and this is what they said in the SEC filing. Alongside the offering, Grab will repurchase approximately 270 million of its Class A ordinary shares in a privately negotiated off-market transaction at $468 a share, the stock's closing price on June 10th. So they already have $270 million left of their $500 million repurchase agreement that they initiated last year. They didn't buy back any stock so far this year. My question has been why, right? Like, why aren't you buying back your stock? You have $6 billion in cash. Like, you authorized to buy back your stock. Why aren't you doing it? Apparently, it's because the master plan so far was to raise a ton of money at a 0% coupon with a 44% conversion premium, and then use some of that money to repurchase shares at a price that is significantly lower than the current premium to the stock. And quite frankly, I think this is why the stock has been stuck in a rut for the past 5 months. Because could you imagine if the stock was $7? They would not be able to get as good of a deal as they got. The upside they would have to guarantee to investors would be like $11 or $12 by 2030, which would just be a harder target. But because the stock's only at 468, they can easily guarantee 650 based on a 40% premium by 2030, and essentially get free money for the next 5 years. So now the question becomes simply, and this is the multi-billion-dollar question, maybe multi-hundred-billion-dollar question, definitely the multi-tens of billions of dollars of questions. Why the hell are they raising $1.5 billion? Like, what do they need $1.5 billion to do if they already have $5.9 billion on the balance sheet? And my assumption right here is that they're going to use that money to buy a competitor, and that competitor is going to be massively accretive for earnings per share. So overall, I think this is a good thing. I think the stock is still going to be flat. The stock's still going to be stuck. The market needs credibility and rather clarity on what they're going to be doing with money, but they're doing it in a very strategic way. I don't think they're going to become a Bitcoin treasury. People are like, oh, they're going to buy Bitcoin. I mean, maybe. I don't think Grab's going to become a Bitcoin treasury, but the point is it's free money. They can use this money in any way they want. And if they're gearing up to use that basically $8 billion war chest they have right now to make acquisitions to kind of solidify their spot in Southeast Asia, then I think that's very bullish for Grab long-term as well. Grab is trying to acquire AK Media. Yeah, they might be trying to do that as well. So look, guys, I mean, if you don't want to join the thesis, don't join the thesis, right? But to me, it's just kind of exciting to see how this is playing out. All the fundamentals are lining up, and now they're raising a ton of money when they already have a crap ton of money. I think the downside is limited, and I was talking to some people last night, and they feel it's very obvious that Howard Marks did not buy this for a 10% move. I mean, a lot of the big guys that have loaded up 80% institutional ownings know that something's happening. There's been 4-year consolidation. The question is, what do they do with the cash? And I think we'll get more clarity towards the end of the year. So that's what we got in the context of Grab. Nvidia right here, 145 in the pre-markets, Tesla 335, Robin at 73.05, Palantir at 133.95. All right, what is Jensen saying? Well, he's saying some stuff that's probably pissing off Martin Shkreli. Let's get into some quotes. Nvidia CEO says quantum computing is reaching an inflection point. I think Shkreli is not going to be happy today listening to this. He says, we are within reach of being able to apply quantum computers in areas that can solve some interesting problems in the coming years. Now, maybe Jensen's just saying this because he wants to be nice to these quantum computing companies. Or maybe he actually believes in it. I don't know. But D-Wave is up about 3% right now in the pre-markets. Rigetti is up about 7% in the pre-markets. And then IONQ is up about 5% in the pre-markets. The thing is, Shkreli might end up being right on his short in terms of these companies, not quantum as a thesis that he's against, but these companies really don't have any momentum in the quantum space. He could end up being right on that. The problem is he could end up being right, but be stuck in a trade that just doesn't go his way for way too long. And, if you're short for this long and those stocks just continue to stay at these levels, eventually, he's going to get margin called if he continues to have this much money. Scrally, I was listening to another podcast he did last night. He was debating another guy on the quantum ecosystem. And he said he's going to make $100 million off this trade, which means he's shorting with, at least upwards of 50 million, if not close to that 100 million amount already. He's either going to lose all that money or he's going to be right on this. But the thing is, he could be right. It might just take years for this to play out. And even if it takes years for this to play out, it might not go to his targets. So Jensen saying beautiful things about quantum definitely is not helping him right here. And you got to ask yourself, why is Jensen saying this stuff? Is it just he wants to be nice to the quantum CEOs, or does he genuinely believe that we are within reach of applying quantum computers? And I don't know. I think none of us know, but we're going to find out over the coming years to see how that plays out. Okay, the next part of NVIDIA, we got a bunch of NVIDIA updates. NVIDIA and Perplexity AI are teaming up with over a dozen AI firms across Europe and the Middle East to strengthen local language AI models. NVIDIA will develop reasoning models by generating synthetic data in French, German, Spanish, and Polish, and more, filling the data gap between lower resource languages. Perplexity will handle all the distribution. NVIDIA's Kari Brisky said, Europe needs strong models that reflect each nation's unique language and culture. This is really bullish for Perplexity. A lot of people are wondering, why is this company worth $15 billion? It's because they're getting massive levels of distribution from NVIDIA, and people are actually using the product. Perplexity had 780 million queries last month. Google gets 5.5 trillion a year. If Perplexity gets that anywhere near 10 billion a month over the coming years, that is going to be a much more valuable company than 15 billion. And that's why I think the market is getting very excited about that as well. So that was one of the NVIDIA updates we had. We talked about the quantum updates as well. Then we got some other stuff from NVIDIA in the context of SMCI. So SMCI is rolling out their broadest AI solution lineup for the NVIDIA Blackwell in Europe. Again, this is GTC week in Europe, so you're going to get a lot of headlines from Europe. Over 30 systems built for the NVIDIA B200 and GB200 and RTX Pro 6000. The goal is helping enterprises bring AI factories online faster with efficient infrastructure and advanced cooling technologies for those GPUs. SMCI right here up about 2% of the pre-markets as well, based on this headline. NVIDIA 145.20, SMCI 43.70 in the pre-markets. Bullish Nebius, 1000% bullish Nebius. This stock right here, flat in the pre-markets, but still above 50. And then CoreWeave, this is all bullish for CoreWeave, even if CoreWeave's multiple is a bit aggressive. CoreWeave up 2%, almost touching 160 in the pre-markets as well. So the takeaway from everything Jensen's been saying today, and we'll get some more clips of what he's been saying because he was on stage for about 2 hours, and so we'll try to get some of the best stuff of what he said, is AI is not slowing down. It is going to be expanding to Europe, even if the Middle East is being really aggressive with their pursuit of AI, and that NVIDIA is going to likely keep compounding at growth rates that the bears, think they can't do, which is upwards of 40%. And if they do that over the next couple of years, and then they kind of bounce out at 25 or 30% towards the end of the decade, this is a company that's going to be worth $10 trillion. I mean, if the demand for GPUs and compute is going to be as big as it is, this is not a company that's going to be stuck at 3 trillion. Even if 3 trillion feels unfathomable, this entire AI revolution rests on NVIDIA. Having said that, update on ChatGPT. I saw this last night and I could not believe it, but it is very real and it's pretty damn incredible. And then we'll talk about some more macro data that we got going on. The user retention on ChatGPT, this was updated as of yesterday. The 1 month user retention was less than 60% 2 years ago. 60% is already incredible. It is now 90%, which means 9 out of 10 people that sign up to ChatGPT come back every month. This is insanity. And even if you don't care about OpenAI or you don't care about ChatGPT, but you do care about NVIDIA, you care about the overall AI landscape, you care about Palantir that needs to have people continuously using AIP to be able to get multiples and show that AI is actually worthwhile in the enterprise, you need the hottest consumer product to have the best retention ever to prove the use case of artificial intelligence. I mean, this is insanity, bro. YouTube is the best comparison to ChatGPT at 85%, which makes sense, right? All of us watch videos. You would imagine people watch a video once every month. So 8.5 out of every 10 people come to YouTube once a month. Instagram's at 73%, TikTok's at 69%, Snapchat 67%, WhatsApp 63%. The fact that ChatGPT is higher than WhatsApp. WhatsApp is literally messaging infrastructure for billions of people across the world is insane. Roblox at 61%, Tinder's at 54%, Duolingo is at 50%, and then Candy Crush is at 48%. I didn't know people still play Candy Crush, but that's the case. And ChatGPT is at 90%. ChatGPT is at 90%. I don't know Grok's retention, but the point is, I would imagine that Grok Gemini, Anthropic, Claude, ChatGPT, all of these products are relatively the same. ChatGPT is probably really ahead of those, but like in comparison from a proportional perspective, I would imagine Grok is still pretty good as well. And same thing with the Gemini with the 400 million monthlies they have, and then Claude, because Claude is used so much in the software engineering space. That's a big deal. That's a big freaking deal, dude. That's a big freaking deal. And the reason that's a big deal is because people are actually using these products. Christina says ChatGPT is just getting better and better. I don't have enough Nvidia. I agree. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if more people keep using ChatGPT, it's going to be tough for them to not continue buying Nvidia GPUs. Nick says, I have tiers for my subscriptions. It just made it into the Spotify, Amazon, and Costco tier, last to cancel. Yeah, that's a good question. Put in the chat, what is your, let's put up top three subscriptions you would never cancel. Honestly, it's ironic you bring that up, Nick, because last night, someone was talking about FSD, and I was like, dude, I would cancel my Netflix before I cancel my FSD. Like I can get away with not watching Netflix. I think that would be pretty easy to cancel. I don't want to drive without FSD. Like even for a 10, 20 minute drive, like I just use it every single day. It's becoming one of those subscriptions for me. So if, I don't pay for ChatGPT, I pay for Grok. But the point is, if an AI subscription becomes a de facto subscription that you don't cancel, and Sundar was talking about this, at the I/O event, there's going to be massive levels of subscription revenue that are coming into this ecosystem. Trump just tweeted, adding to the China readout, President Xi and I are going to work closely together to open up China to American trade. This would be a great win for both countries. Adding to the China readout, President Xi and I are going to work closely together to open up China to the American trade, or to American trade. This would be a great win for both countries. So Trump continuing to tout that this China deal will be positive for the broader markets. S&P 500 604, Nvidia at 145 right here in the pre-markets. Okay, let's see some of the stuff you guys are saying. Amazon Prime, Costco, ChatGPT. Andy says Netflix, Spotify, HomeServe. What is HomeServe? What is that? HomeServe? HomeServe, home warranty for home system. Okay, a home warranty company. Okay, that's fair. So homes, I actually see a couple HomeServes. Okay, so that makes sense. Dexter, Apple Cloud, Google One. Yeah, I mean, for storage, you definitely can't cancel that. YouTube Premium's on my list as well. Robinhood Gold is on my premium as well, or on my list. Yeah, Robinhood Gold and YouTube Premium are definitely on my list. That's for sure. Netflix, Prime, Spotify, Amazon Prime. Yeah, how can we forget that? It's hard to cancel Prime. Stars, Paramount, Game Pass for the sports people. That makes sense. Ori says iCloud, YouTube Premium, ChatGPT, ChatGPT Pro, Anthropic, Gemini, YouTube, SiriusXM. Dude, people think SiriusXM is dead. SiriusXM has 35 million subscribers. There are people that listen to SiriusXM, so that makes sense to me as well. Netflix, Amazon, Hood. Sokol says Apple, YouTube, Robinhood. Andy says your channel. I appreciate that. Doug says YouTube Premium, Tesla, FSD, and Hood Gold. A lot of you guys saying some of these same things that are overlapping. I would imagine in 5 years, whatever LLM you pick, whether it's GPT or Grok, it's going to be up there. It's going to be up there for a lot of people. It's going to be up there for a lot of people. So again, the point is just we are living through a revolution, and this revolution is happening right in front of us. The reason why Tesla's getting their multiple, even with the whole Elon Trump stuff that happened last week, and Apple's not getting a multiple compared to Tesla, is because people believe that Tesla's AI vision is going to manifest itself, and it's happening in front of us, and no one wants to really fade that. And that's why that dip was really easily bought at 270. With Apple making our home screens look worse than they already look, people are seeing the decline of a company that's just not innovating in AI. Now, their cash flow is amazing. Their buybacks are amazing. Apple is not going to be dead anytime soon. But at the speed of innovation that we are seeing from a ChatGPT, from a Grok, from a Tesla, from an Nvidia, from a Palantir, we're just not seeing that at Apple. And the market is going to be willing to pay really high multiples. I mean, I think all of us can say to an extent the reason Palantir is getting $315 billion in market cap is because the market believes that if ChatGPT has a 90% user retention rate every month, the overall paradigm that we are entering into is something that none of us can even fathom. It is a fundamental shift in technology that at the likes that humanity has never seen, at least since the internet. And that is going to be worth a lot more than it is today. And as a result, those premiums are high, not only in the private markets, but also in the public market. I mean, look, OpenAI at $300 billion. First of all, Palantir is more valuable than OpenAI right now, based on the public market comparison compared to their private market valuation for OpenAI. But number two, if I told you a product has 90% user retention, meaning 9 out of 10 people came back every month when they got introduced to the product, is that worth $300 billion? Especially if there's over 800 million users? Like, it's hard to be like, yeah, that I wouldn't pay $300 billion for that, because if it's just beginning, you would imagine that company is going to be worth a couple trillion one day. So it's pretty incredible. Pretty freaking incredible. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of momentum for this overall AI ecosystem that is happening. That is taking place in front of us right now. Rushiel says Apple is making us used to Glass UI for Vision Pro glasses. You know, I didn't think of that. That's actually a good point. I never thought of that. That Apple is making us used to Glass UI for Vision Pro and glasses. That's fair. It's just a question now, you know, when we get those Vision Pro and those glasses. A bunch of you guys said OnlyFans in the chat. You guys are freaking crazy, dude. You guys are wild. But it does feel like ChatGPT is going to be one of those subscriptions most people don't unsubscribe to. Now, some of you guys are saying that you'll never pay for an AI model. That's fair. I think the majority of the world, you got people in third world countries that are not going to have the disposable income to pay for a $20 a month subscription. That's fine. But you don't need the whole world paying $20 a month. There will be tons of advertising and different types of ecosystems that create monetization on these models. But I don't know, if you get even 2-3% of the world paying $20-$30 a month for these models, that's a lot of subscription revenue that's entering into the broader ecosystem. And by the way, what is the point of a subscription, right? The reason these SaaS models are so beautiful in the B2B space is because if a Palantir can get a $20 million guarantee from Airbus every year for the next 10 years, they're going to pay $20 million. That's $200 million in guaranteed revenue. That's incredible. If Spotify can build a product that's so good and they have, I think, 320 million paying subscribers every month to pay $10 because the product is so good, that's a big deal because you have a TAM of 8 billion people. Theoretically, you know, if you assume 80% of them care about music, you just have to be a better product than the other product and you can get a subscription out of them. If we have a product that is a supercomputer in your pocket to the likes we've never seen, and it's going to cost $20 a month, can you find a way to get $20 a month out of, I don't know, 10 to 15% of the 8 billion people we have on this planet? Maybe you could. And if you could, the question is just what companies are going to be at the forefront of getting that revenue. And if it's an OpenAI, if it's a Google, if it's a Grok, XAI, et cetera, it's just going to be very exciting. And the good thing about owning Nvidia is Nvidia doesn't care who gets the revenue. Nvidia just cares that they keep selling their GPUs to be able to get those companies to sell those subscriptions. And that means that Nvidia seems like they have a long runway as well. So very, very exciting for NVIDIA. We'll get more updates from that GTC conference, but super cool based on what they're saying. And these stats on ChatGPT it really surprised me this morning. I could not believe that the models have been getting that good and then they're getting that type of retention. But that's what we're seeing. And we are all living through that revolution right now. All right, couple updates on macro. So first of all, what did Dan Ives say about Trump and Elon? He said, this is an important step with Musk apologizing for some of his back and forth with Trump. The battle between the former BFFs. Musk needs Trump and Trump needs Musk. We believe this is an important step to the two becoming friends again and allies on a number of topics. So Dan Ives says, hey, it's pretty bullish that Elon apologized. If you're just joining, Elon did apologize last night. He said, I am sorry, my tweets went too far. He tweeted that at 3 a.m. Eastern. And Trump said this morning, I think I can make up with Elon. And yeah, bullish Tesla. Looks like the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man are not beefing anymore. Anduril CEO Palmer Luckey, he thinks that they are definitely going to go public.
Quickly, Palmer. IPO, is it in the cards?
Yes. I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, but to get a little more detail today, we are definitely going to be a publicly traded company. We are running this company to be the shape of a publicly traded company. I don't think that there's really a path to a company like Anduril winning things in the shape of, let's say, a $1 trillion F-35 Joint Strike Fighter contract as a private company. It just doesn't seem to be the thing that can be done. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We can have a whole show just about why that is, why private companies are probably not going to scale to the scale that Anduril wants to scale to. But it is definitely on our roadmap.
Quick.
Anduril is going to pump harder than any stock I think we've ever seen when it comes to IPOs. I think this stock is going to be one of those stocks, folks. I mean, obviously the macro environment matters. If they IPO in 2026, do we have a bear market, bull market, what's going on? But if they go public and we have sentiment the way it is right now, across the entire equity markets. And if a company like freaking Circle can pump 300%, which by the way was down 9% yesterday, but I don't think if you got in the IPO, you can complain. 106 right here in the pre-market. If a company like Circle can pump and Newsmax and Webull that, are exciting companies, but they're not anywhere near the level of fandom that Anduril has, it is going to be one of the biggest IPOs ever. Now, granted, they just raised that $30 billion. For those that want to get shares on the secondary markets, I don't know their internal financials, but I would reckon that $30 billion is a little expensive, dude. I would reckon it's not cheap. Again, this is a defense contractor, probably have crappy margins, and they don't have any commercial business yet. Now, those things can change, but the rate of growth is probably way better than a Lockheed Martin or a Raytheon. The excitement around the idea of them becoming a modern defense contractor utilizing software that can also realistically become the poster child for what it means to defend the West. I mean, Palantir does that from a software perspective, but if Anduril can be that from a hardware perspective, and they have the capabilities to just produce way more cost effective than a Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, they should be able to get more contracts. That brand in and of itself is very exciting. And then you have a communicator like Palmer Luckey, which is just like, again, you guys know how I feel about a CEO that can communicate and really get their message out into the world. He can talk. He can get people to believe. And then they just got the Meta partnership. Meta, the company that fired him, is partnering with him. It shows the 180 in terms of the political climate for a company like Meta to partner with Anduril. But number two, it shows that they have a lot of powerful resources. I mean, Meta has lots of money. Meta just invested $15 billion in Scale AI yesterday to take a 49% stake. They've got plenty of money that they can use to subsidize a lot of the R&D that Anduril may need to do to get to the next level, which means Anduril has an unlimited war chest, not only with the money they've raised, but with their technology partners that allow them to innovate and continue to grow as much as they need to grow to be better than a Lockheed Martin or Raytheon when it comes to overall top line revenue growth, which from my understanding, Anduril growing like triple digits. Lockheed Martin's growing like 5% year over year. So they're going to get a premium. The question is going to be, how big is the premium going to be? So they're at $30 billion right now. I think they're going to be a $50 billion company when they go public. And the question is, are they worth $50 billion on the numbers? I mean, we'll see the S1 when it comes out. Maybe they are. But even if they're not, I think this thing is going to get pumped to $100 billion. For some context, Lockheed Martin is only a $120 billion company, $111 billion company, because, Lockheed Martin is a legacy company. They pay a dividend, and people just don't care that much about turning this into a stock that gets a big retail audience. Or, an audience that genuinely cares about, like, who's the CEO of Lockheed Martin? Like, no one knows, right? But Palmer Luckey and Anduril, it's just going to be different. It's just going to be much different. And so I think that will be very exciting as well. Tesla right here is up again in the pre-markets at 335. Again, we do have that China deal that became official. If you're just joining based on what Trump said, we're going to get more details on that later throughout the day. Hopefully, Tesla right here at 335. And then the other big headline was that Elon apologized to Trump last night. And that apology is definitely helping Tesla get some more momentum. Also, Elon liked my tweet last night. Apparently, Elon and I were both up at 3 a.m. Elon has now liked about 4 of my tweets in the past week. He reposted that video that I did with FSD. So I'm definitely entering into his algorithm. I'm definitely getting into his algorithm. He has not given me the follow yet. So we got to see if we can get that follow from Elon. But I'm definitely popping up late at night into his algo. Here's what I wrote. I said, not going to lie, Elon posting about Trump being in the files and having one of the ugliest public breakups ever, and then deleting the posts. And now Tesla Robotaxi video send the stock back to 320 after going down to 275 is proving this man is invincible. And I mean what I say right here. It's proving the guy is invincible. He called him a PDF file. He said he's on the Epstein list. And then he's like, I apologize. I didn't mean to say that. And like nothing happens other than like a 15% dip that lasts for barely 24 hours. I mean, it's just incredible. If a bad Q1 and an ugly breakup with the president, which might not be as ugly anymore, won't keep the stock down, and across the market, we're getting ready to hit all-time highs with more trade deals and rate cuts. CPI data was incredible today. I'm not sure. This is what I was talking about with Kris yesterday and with Steve on Sunday night. I don't know what can genuinely take Tesla down to the low 200s, even if Q2 isn't the best. Autonomy is coming. We know it's coming. We saw the Robotaxi video yesterday. And even with all the brand risk, which is a big deal, I'm not saying that the brand risk is something that we should ignore. The market still may be focusing on the growth story of autonomy and eventually robotics over any of the idiosyncratic concerns about brand risk and the overall auto business. Someone says, I do agree. This is crazy resilience for the stock. I mean, dude, like this type of resilience for a company that has gone through what Elon's going through, and Tesla has been through a lot of shit. Taking the company private, 420, funding secured, smoking weed with Joe Rogan. Like, it's been through some controversies. It has never been through Elon saying what he said about Trump after giving him hundreds of millions of dollars, and then the stock saying, we don't care. After having one of the worst Q1s ever in Tesla's history, and likely gearing up for one of the worst Q2s that Tesla's ever had, simply because EV demand is not right there. And we can tell EV demand is not right there, and deliveries are going to have a big miss as well. And still, the market doesn't care. Still, the market does not care. I mean, it is just incredible. It's incredible. And so it's proving that he's invincible for now. If we enter into a bear market, the stock's going to get hit. But if we don't enter into a bear market, and part of what we do every day is try to look at what are the macro pieces of the puzzle to figure out if we're entering into that bear market or not, it doesn't feel like we are. This stock does not need to go to low 200s at all. At all, even with all the brand risk. And I think as a result, is it a great buy at 330? Probably not. But if you're waiting for 220, is it going to, I don't know. It's going to be one of those things that might just end up going to 400 or might stay oscillating in this range, maybe make gap down to 300, but I don't know if it has to get as bad as some people thought it was going to get. Chat says, Amit, half of the reason I listen to you is I can get 2x the amount of info in real time based on how quickly you talk. Chad, shout out to you. I think this is a good time to say that Chad will be on the channel tomorrow. Chad will be on the channel tomorrow, folks. I posted this video. So I was at the airport when I was traveling to AIPCon. And dude, it was so cool seeing this video because this is my favorite company, obviously, Palantir. And here's their billboard in the airport. And it was a big billboard, bro. As soon as I saw this billboard, I texted Chad. I was like, bro, what did you guys do? Like, imagine just walking through the airport. Being a fan of who I've been covering the company for 5 years. I obviously care about the company. I'm literally going to AIPCon. So the purpose of me being at the airport is to travel to a Palantir event. And then I see this just in front of me. I mean, this was crazy, bro. This was absolutely crazy. So I was just like, this is ridiculous. And so I tweeted it and I said, I don't know what. So the tagline is activate AI with any storage, any model, any compute, anywhere. I don't know exactly what that means, but it feels like something new. And then Chad commented yesterday, it is about MMDP, multimodal data plane. Would love to give some more insight on why it's such a big deal, like the holy grail of IT departments. And we can do it not only because of the tech stack, but the incentives and how we align with our customers with them buying compute and storage consumption from a software vendor. Do you want to hop on to stream on Thursday? He's calling it truly technical Thursday because he doesn't respect technical Tuesday because he doesn't believe in TA, which is fair. Because if you're all in Palantir, you kind of don't need to care about TA. But we're going to have truly technical Thursday tomorrow, probably at around like 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. So at around 10:30 a.m. Eastern on the market open, we will have Chad join and he will explain what is MMDP. It looks like a new product offering or a new way that they're packaging their product. Not really sure exactly what it is, but he's going to be explaining it tomorrow and we will get some more details on Palantir. Last thing right here on Palantir, we got about 5 minutes until the market opens. Palantir is not stepping down, folks. Actually, you've got two things on Palantir. Real quick, let me do this, and then we'll get into what the global head of commercial tweeted yesterday. Mizuho raised their target from 94 to 116, but they still have an underperform. We are raising our price target to 116 from 94 on Palantir's strong recent execution and significant upward revisions, along with recent appreciation in comparable multiples. Our price target reflects an EV to sales multiples of roughly 80 and 65. This also equates to a larger 6x premium to our enterprise software peer group median for next year, reflective of Palantir's strong strategic positioning with large customers and potential for further accelerated growth in future years. Folks, what you're reading right now is the manifestation of a Wall Street firm saying, look, we get it. We understand that they're worth $315 billion and they're doing about $4 billion in revenue, but they deserve a 6x premium because of how much we think their execution is unparalleled in the software space. I mean, that is what we are looking at right now. And it is just incredible. It is just incredible to see this taking place. And that is why we are getting to normalize this $100 range for Palantir. What has not been incredible over the past couple of weeks is the New York Times accusing Palantir of being an evil company. And Ted Maybury, the global head of commercial, he tweeted yesterday, as a follow-up to the post published by Palantir below, I'd like to formally invite your editorial board to our office to speak to our leadership team and join a team of our engineers for an in-depth look at the Palantir platform. Among other things, we'd like to show you how privacy and civil liberty protections are embedded in the foundation of our software. I believe you'll find the visit both interesting and educational. We can accommodate your team in New York or DC, whichever is most convenient. We look forward to your response by close of business today, June 10th. I mean, dude. Palantir's basically saying, hey, you're going to accuse us? Like, all right, like, come to the office. Sit down with us for 5 hours. Like, if you're going to accuse us and say our technology is being used to surveil Americans, we want you to, like, what company actually opens up everything to the New York freaking Times and says, hey, we are ready to be as transparent as you could ever imagine. And we're inviting you to have an entire in-depth a day with us to be able to talk about our software. And my comment was, if the New York Times does not respond to this with anything but yes, we'd love to learn more about the company we made serious allegations against, then it shows they have zero intentions of reporting or engaging in journalistic integrity and are basically admitting to fabricating a story for clicks. You can't say, hey, that company's horrible. And then when the company says, hey, like, we disagree and we welcome a open discussion. We want to privately invite you to our headquarters to discuss more about what's going on. And you say, we don't care about doing that. And you have the influence that you do as the New York Times. That means you don't actually care. You don't actually care about what you're saying. You're just saying it to get clicks. So 0 chance New York Times takes them up on that. Yeah, I don't think the New York Times will take them up on that. But the point is, if they did, then they would probably recognize that, hey, we have to retract what we said about Palantir. Like, this is not the evil spy data company that we think it is. And if they don't show up, then obviously that's a bad thing. They did. They already said yes. Wow. They said, did they reply under that post? Hold on. Let me see. Holy crap. All right. So what's happening, folks? Yeah, they did say yes. There you go. They said yes. All right. The New York Times has responded. There you go. They said yes. This is going to be an interesting one. So now the saga continues as the New York Times has agreed to it. Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. The New York Times says so in the interest of transparency, NYT reached out over email stating that they welcome the opportunity to interview members of Palantir's leadership team. We have responded with the following agenda for the session. Thanks. We look forward to hosting you. We will use the time to provide the NYT with the necessary information to understand the factual errors in the original article. To that end, the agenda of the session would be, and then they go through. Holy crap. This is a 4-hour session that they're going to have. 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be about a 4 to 5 hour session explaining to the New York Times what Palantir does. I wonder if Karp's going to be there. I wonder if Karp shows up. Dude, if I was Karp and I was in that meeting, we got 2 minutes till market open, I would walk into that meeting like a boss. I would walk in because, and you would be so pissed off because these editorial board members literally made the entire internet think you have some evil company, but you would have to, you can't curse them out. You would have to walk in and you would have to have some respect, but man, would I pay a lot of money to be a fly on the wall and just see how that meeting goes. All right, there you go. So I hope some good happens out of this. They are, I'm seeing at least 3 to 4 videos a day with hundreds of thousands of views. Like, I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands of views on Palantir is an evil surveillance data company. And so the narrative is still spreading. And it's because of this New York Times article. Hopefully, if the New York Times actually retracts their statements, this could have some level of meaningful impact on the narrative. And people could maybe, see that the New York Times is going to take back what they were accusing Palantir of. But we're going to find out after they have this meeting. So there you go. Palantir being on the offensive, and they are not slowing down when it comes to the attacks that they're getting on this company. All right, 30 seconds until the market opens, folks. We got great CPI. We got a China deal confirmed by the president. We got Jensen saying a lot of good things at Nvidia GTC. We have a ton more headlines to get through. Let's see how the market reacts if we dump or pump in the open. And then we will keep going from there and try to see ultimately if this bull market can continue in the month of June. S&P 500 at 604 in the pre-markets. Here we go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. 9:30 a.m. June 11th, the stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Robinhood opens up at 73.12. Robinhood did release their May monthly metrics. We looked at it already. We'll go back deeper into it. All-time highs across pretty much every category. Numbers are looking very good. So May is going to be a good month. If June is also a good month, we should have a 45 to 50% growth quarter in top-line revenue for Q2 for Robinhood. Robinhood 72.91. Tessie opens at 333. A little bit of a red candle, still up 2% from yesterday, but a red candle from the pre-markets at 335 down to 333. Tesla is up about 2.1%. Nvidia opens up at 144.76. 144.76. Palantir all-time highs. Holy crap. There you go, folks. Holy guacamole. Palantir 135.77. I guess it's making a move off maybe what the New York Times said. Maybe this potential resolution to what Palantir is doing with the New York Times, and the market saying, okay, the sentiment's going to change in terms of the brand positioning if the New York Times mainly retracts their statement. We hit 136. We hit 136. Wow. We hit 136. I don't think we've hit 136 before. We have not. This is 136 for the first time ever, folks. Let me check resistance at 137. We hit it for a second. Let's see if we get back there. 136.23. I think we will touch it again. 137 resistance on Palantir right at the opening bell. 61,000 shares at 137. 61,000 shares at 137. Grabs at 476. Google at 179. PayPal at 74. SoFi 1458. Amazon 217. Again, CPI came in at 2.4 versus 2.5% expected. The market loved it. Meta 705. Salesforce at 267. You got Pinterest right here at 34.90. MicroStrategy at 389. Bitcoin at 109. Coinbase at 254. Robinhood 72, 73. Pouncer now getting a little bit of a red candle from 136 to 134. But we did get a pump immediately at open. Someone bought a ton of Palantir within the last 2 minutes as soon as the market opened. And we don't exactly know why. Maybe we'll find out throughout the day. But for some reason, they bought it. Maybe it's because of the New York Times stuff that we just talked about, or maybe it's because of something else. Palantir right here up 1.2% on the day. Tessie 333, holding on to up about 2%, in Nvidia 144 currently right now. Where is the eVTOLs? Joby is up 4%. They've been having a good couple weeks. Archer is up 4.75%. AMD was pumping in the pre-markets. AMD up about 0.5%. I will be streaming the AMD event on Thursday, tomorrow, at around 12 p.m. Eastern. So we will be streaming that event. Apple 203, that's slightly green. Amazon is at 218. Amazon at 217. That's a little bit down on the day. Google just below 180 at 179.6. You got Nubank at 1216. You got TLT that's slightly down on the day. IBKR is at 204. Duolingo is up a little bit on the day. Cisco slightly green. Let's look at some of the semis. We are green across the board in semis outside of Intel, which was up 9% yesterday. I don't know why. If anyone knows why Intel was up yesterday, let me know. I don't really know why. TSM was up 1% right now. Qualcomm's up 1%. Dell is up 0.35. Micron's up 1.3. AMD basically flat. Dell's up 0.35. Nvidia 144. Not holding 145, unfortunately. Nvidia not holding those 145 levels. And then SMCI right here, 43.77. That is up 2% currently in the pre-market. Mag 7, or as we get into the market open, Meta's green, Google's green, Nvidia's green, Tesla's green, Amazon's red, Apple's green, and then Microsoft slightly red on the day, basically flat. In terms of crypto, CleanSpark's up, Marathon's up, Robinhood is up a little bit. Bitcoin itself is 109.3. That is also green. Is SoFi going to break? Are we going to get the SoFi break? Or are we going to get it? I think 15. Oh, SoFi, I think it's going to break. It is, dude, it has been time. We've been waiting for a long time. I think SoFi, she wants it. I think she wants it. Let's see. $15 resistance. Pouncer back at 135 for SoFi is 316,000 shares. That doesn't feel like it's too crazy. Where's the S&P? S&P's at 603. It was at 604 in the pre-market, so that one chilling out right there. Grabs at 473. Pouncer 135.23. Again, SoFi about 300,000 shares. Okay, so MP is down 12% right here because of the China update that Trump announced. So it doesn't seem like the update he announced around rare earth minerals is bearish, but it might be if the street expected a lot more from China, or they think that China is going to fulfill the demand and MP might not be able to adequately assess the demand that the United States is looking for. The stock already pumped a lot during the year. So again, we've been talking about this for the past couple of days. This one is a headline-driven stock around rare earth minerals. You can pick any headline that came out today to be bearish or bullish, but this stock's likely down 12% because the headlines were already so bullish for the past couple of days and it was potentially priced in. Micron as well, green right here. There you go. Micron was up 4% yesterday. That's up another 2%. When did Micron get to 116? This thing was $80. I feel like last time we looked at it, 116, or last time I remember looking at it. So this one has had a hell of a move right here. At least it was $95. I feel like last time I looked at it. So Micron doing very well. Congrats to anyone who's in Micron. Palantir still holding 135. We did touch 136. Not too bad. ASML is down or green. Nope, that's up about 1%. SoFi again, 1470. CRM is slightly flat on the day. Nvidia, 144. Dash right here at 213. Where is Uber? Uber is at 87. CoreWeave 159. That one continuing to get some momentum. That's up a little bit on the day. And then Nebius, this stock as well, 52.52. That's green. Micron just won business from Nvidia. That makes sense for why they would be pumping. Let me see if I can get that headline right here. Micron. Yeah, you're right. There you go. Micron set to supply the SOCAM chips to Nvidia ahead of Samsung, SK, ANX from KED. According to people familiar with the matter on Tuesday, Nvidia commissioned all three major memory makers, Samsung, SK, and Micron, to develop SOCAM prototypes. And Micron was the first to receive Nvidia's approval for mass production, leveraging its edge and low-power DRAM performance to outpace its larger rivals. There you go. There you go for Micron. Where is Navitas? Navitas right here is at 11% up. It's almost going to touch $9. Where's HIMS? That took a little bit of a beating yesterday. HIMS is below 54 again. That's down 2%. Okay, so HIMS right there, that 53 range. Let me know if anyone's buying the dip on HIMS. We didn't get a really juicy dip below 50. If we get below 50, I would be more interested in the HIMS dip. But I don't know, 53, 54 doesn't really feel like that big of a dip. SoFi right here, still at 1470. Robinhood trying to get back to 73. Nvidia 144.18, and then Palantir just below this 135 level. ABCL, okay, so I don't know why this one's pumping. AppSeller is a very interesting company. It's up basically 45% over the past 2 days. There's the chart right there. It was at 230 on June 5th, and now it's at 339. Two of my good friends have loved this stock for a very long time. One of them is Chris Patel. If you guys remember in 2022, I think we did an episode on ABCL a long time ago. It's probably on the channel, but I don't know if he still owns it, but he definitely was bullish on this 3 years ago. And then Arnie also loves this stock. I don't know if Arnie still owns it, but Arnie has always had a affiliation with this company, and he's always thought this company could be like a 20x over the long term. They're kind of like the best way to describe it is a platform for DNA sequencing. It's kind of like Ginkgo Bioworks, but it's better than Ginkgo Bioworks. I believe there's some synthetic biology involved here, and they take equity stakes in the partners that use their technology to build their drugs. There's a lot more to the thesis, but it's speculative, right? It's in the biotech space. Like, this is a stock that really doesn't have to move unless there's news. And I guess there was some news over the past 24 hours, and that's why ABCL got some momentum. Arnie still owns a small position. I'm gonna talk to Arnie on Friday, and we'll talk more to him about this thesis. But he's been covering this for a couple of years, and so he does like this name. Peter Thiel funded them. I don't think he's on the board of directors anymore, but he used to be. So there is a Peter Thiel affiliation with this one as well. SoFi's 15 resistance is 370,000 shares. 1480. It's getting close though. It's getting close. Arnie, oh, there he is in the chat. I repurchased it again, got lucky with the price. There you go. All right, so Arnie's in. Arnie, which means if Arnie's in, you know I got to take a deeper look. Arnie is like top 3 people on the planet. If he says he's bullish about a name, I have to look at it. Arnie's up there for me. Like, if Arnie says, hey, Amit, you look at this, I stop everything I'm doing. I tell my girlfriend, hey, babe, I can't talk to you. And then I tell my second girlfriend, hey, babe, I can't talk to you. And then I tell my third girlfriend, babe, I can't talk to you. I got to talk to Arnie right now. And we got to figure out why the hell he's so bullish on this stock. So that one requires a deep dive. We'll look at ABCL. We'll see what's going on there. Why is Lockheed Martin tanking? Maybe because Anduril's going to go public and people need some funds to buy the future of defense. Lockheed Martin, I don't know why it's down 6%. It's probably not because Anduril's going public, but that's confusing. Not sure why. Not sure why that's down. You have 3 girlfriends? Dude, I have like 10 girlfriends, bro. I organize my girlfriends in my contact book like tickers in a watch list from most to least important. You know what I'm talking about? So like the first one's named Palantir, the second one names Hood, the third one names Grab, fourth one's named Nvidia. So like that's how I respond to the text messages as they come in throughout the day. And if Palantir texts me, I got to respond. If Amazon texts me, it takes some time. I don't need to respond to that one. Grab right here at 474, SoFi at 1486. Dude, I think SoFi is going to go for it. 326,000 shares. 326,000 shares on a SoFi. I think we can get there. I think there's a shot. Let's see. It would be nice, bro. Let me see my options. Those options have been dead money for a while. The options are, they're up big today. They're up. There you go. All right, here we go. We are officially up 350%. Again, this is the play I have on SoFi. We invested $3,500 in these options. If SoFi just gets to 20, all I need is 20. Noto, give us 20. These will be worth $50,000 by January 2026. Currently, they're worth about 15. So we've already had a nice little 3.5x on these options. All I need is Noto to give us 20, which I don't think is crazy. And I will be able to use that money to at least make a dent in some of the taxes that I have to pay next year, because the SoFi profits will be going to paying Uncle Sam, because Uncle Sam is going to be asking for a lot. Tesla right here, 332. That one again up about 1.8%. Nvidia, 143. Yeah, Nvidia's not holding on. Nvidia's not holding on to 145. They're not giving us all-time highs yet. SoFi right here again, 1485. Palantir, 134. And then Hoodie at 73.74 right now. Amid Pentagon slashes in half its request for Air Force F-35. Oh boy, there you go. That's the reason why Lockheed is down. That's your reason, folks. Wow, Pentagon slashes in half its request for Air Force F-35s. That's a story we just had breaking now. Wait, so where's Raytheon? Is Raytheon going to be affected either? Raytheon down about 2%. Lockheed Martin obviously more affected given they make the F-35s. Wow, if they're slashing that in half, that's money, folks, that's being allocated somewhere else because we know that Trump's increasing the defense budget. So it's not like they're putting that money into healthcare. That money's just leaving from Lockheed Martin demand to maybe Anduril. I mean, so maybe I'm not that wrong when I said it's dumping because of Anduril. I mean, Anduril's not going public anytime soon, but maybe Anduril's getting some contracts from them. It's not going to Lockheed Martin. Yeah, drones. Yeah, maybe they're allocating that to drones instead. And as a result, that could be going into some of the drone stocks as well. Are you buying the Voyager IPO? No, I'm not. They are going public today. But I have a friend, Adam. Adam, you guys know Adam. He was on the channel. He's in Voyager. Also, if I'm not wrong, guys, Palantir owns an equity stake in Voyager. They're going to be going public today at $31 a share. At $31 a share. I believe Palantir put in $50 million in Voyager. Palantir had a partnership with Voyager Space for the space station that they're building. This announcement came in like late 2023. So if this IPO is successful, and look, Space has had a really successful year. By the way, the ASTS Space, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight with Chris, myself, and then 2 other people in the community. So ASTS, if you're interested in that, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, we'll be doing a Spaces on that. But ASTS, Rocket Lab, all these companies have been pumping. Voyager just being in that space niche, that could pump the IPO. Even though I'm not going to be buying the IPO, that could definitely be a tailwind for it. Just like the tailwind for Circle was crypto. I'm not saying that Voyager is going to pump 300% like Circle, but there is a broader theme or thematic that the market is excited about. Robinhood right here, 73.91. We just touched 74. Back right down. SoFi 14.87. Grab right here at 4.74, and then Nvidia goes red on the day at 1.43. Is the S&P red? S&P basically flat, 6.03. But we are holding the 6,000s. Yeah, Chris came on the other day and he said that the F-35s are beginning to be a waste of time, and we've seen basically Palmer Luckey say the same exact thing. So it kind of makes sense that the Defense Department is slashing its budget. The question now just becomes, where's that money going to be going, and to what companies, more importantly, if it is going to autonomous drones, are we going to be going to? Meta right here at 703. That's green. Elf, nice move on the day, up 2%. Where's Estee Ladar? That stock is up 1%. Burry, I think his average is like $62, and he's all in if he hasn't made any changes in his portfolio. So he has about 200,000 shares. That one's doing well. And then Ulta, that's at 458. That's down about 1% of the day. By the way, speaking of people that are high profile that are buying stocks, this news broke after the market opened yesterday. Politicians are buying Hood. For the first time ever since IPO, Representative Rob Breshnahan from Northeast Pennsylvania bought Robinhood. $30,000 of Robinhood on May 9th. So I think his average is like $60, maybe a little bit less than that. So it's nice to see a politician buying some Hood. I mean, usually these guys buy defense contractors or Mag 7. We have not seen a single politician say, I'm going to buy Robinhood, but he did. And, you know, if I want to get really conspiracy theorist, again, this is like just me putting the tinfoil hat, maybe he knows the Invest with America platform that Brad Gerstner and Vlad were at the White House with yesterday is going to be using Robinhood as the de facto platform to get people introduced into the ecosystem. Again, that's just my tinfoil hat. Most likely that's not the case, but that could be an argument. The other argument could be that he, you know, likes Robinhood and he's been seeing their innovation. He's excited about Robinhood. So probably the latter, but nonetheless, nice to see some politicians buying it. Again, these were the main metrics. Platform assets under custody, 255 billion, cash sweeps at 30, net deposits, 3 billion. They added 105,000 accounts. They got rid of 100,000 dormant accounts. So they had 5,000 net new accounts in the month of May, 180 billion in equity volumes, 158 to 180 in the month of May. That's crazy. Options went from 168 to 180. Margin went from 8.4 to 9 billion. And then crypto went from 8.6 to 11 billion. Very healthy metrics for the month of May in Robinhood. Robinhood right here, 73.26. All right, Tesla's taking a little bit of a red candle from 335 to 330. That one chilling out, I don't think is too crazy for Tesla to relax given it's pumped from 274. Again, Elon apologized to Trump last night. Palantir right here at 133. Lockheed Martin still down 6% on the day. Quantum, Jensen said Quantum is near. QBTS is down about 1%. So Jensen had some good things to say about Quantum, but nonetheless, Quantum stocks not pumping as aggressively. Where's SoFi? SoFi still is at 1476. Yeah, we're getting the 1030 slam kind of early. Where's APLD? APLD, Applied Digital, that's down 4%. CoreWeave, looks like it's about to go red, up about 1%. And then Nebius, that is down 1%. All right, so we're losing some steam. We had a big open. Palantir, dude, holy crap, 136. That was a massive open. And about 15 minutes later, we're losing some steam, which is fair. It's fair. We've had a long bull market over the past 2 months. I think consolidating is not too crazy. Shout out to Adam for the $10 super chat. Voyager, VOYG. That's the ticker symbol. They use Palantir software, and Palantir owns 50 million of them as an investor. They are part of Trump's golden drone, as far as I can tell. Okay, so that actually could be a catalyst for the ticker symbol. They're going to be going public later today. VOYG. Again, I will not be buying this one. Adam does own them in the private markets. I think he got in the last round before they went public. And apparently Palantir owns about 50 million of them, and they use Palantir as well, their software. So that one, probably around 12 p.m., you can expect it to go public. Robinhood didn't offer an allocation for this one, so I don't think there's going to be a ton of retail demand for this. But hopefully this IPO does well. Also, there's another firm that's going public. It's a Peter Thiel-backed crypto firm. It's called Bullish. It's literally called Bullish. Do you guys know this crypto firm? It is called Bullish, and last night they filed to go public. I've actually never heard of this firm. And, you know, it is a little frothy if these random companies are going public, but the point is that it's also really good for financials, M&A. Also, we haven't really had IPO in 3 years. So as much as I say it's frothy, we also have been in a 3-year drought. And so it's not crazy to see these companies go public. So Peter Thiel-backed crypto firm Bullish files for US IPO. Again, I've never heard of this company, but they are going public as well. Chime is also going public. Rocket Lab has a launch in a little over an hour this morning. Okay, so what are the details on this launch? Is this like a make or break for the stock, or is this just like a random launch that everyone's expecting to be successful? Tesla below 330. Tesla down 1% or up 1%, but below that 335 level. Robin at 73.19. Palantir 133.89 currently right now. Bullish is mainly for institutional trading crypto. Okay. I did not know that. Bullish crypto firm. I don't like that name, dude. That's a weird name. Here's their website. Bullish. Yeah, it's just a weird name. I feel like they could have picked a better name. The standard for institutional crypto trading. All right, so I wonder what their valuation is going to be. I mean, as long as we don't get 2021 BS valuations, if we get something that's reasonable, and you know, the stock can pump to a BS valuation, but they can't IPO at a BS valuation. That was the problem with 2020. 2021 Grab, for as much as I love Grab, they went public at $60 billion. That was insanity. Okay. If they went public at 20 billion and then they 3x because the market was so bullish, it is what it is, right? That's just the market prices it, and there's market participants. There's a lot of liquidity. But if you choose to go public at an insane valuation and the market accepts that from the gate, and then it pumps you even higher, that's when it's like, dude, there's way too much money in the system. And so hopefully that's not going to be, you know, kind of what we see when it comes to this IPO cycle as well. Can we get Arnie on for the ABCL podcast? I will talk to Arnie and let's see if we can do an ABCL podcast. Let's see if he can give us 45 minutes of his time to get some thoughts on ABCL. Brett says it's a random launch. Okay, cool. So shouldn't be a crazy market moving event for them. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. And let's see what else we can see from a macro perspective right here. We talked about the Robinhood metrics. We talked about the CPI print. Again, CPI was really good today. For those that it feels pretty obvious that it is time to cut interest rates in the United States. 2.4 versus 2.5 expected. And then we had that Trump-China tweet today. That was also, you know, very, very bullish in the context of this deal getting done. ASTS podcast is happening tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll be moderating it, and we'll try to get some more thoughts on why the stock could be an opportunity. I think we should do more of that, more of these like deep dives of just one stock. I think hopefully it'll be super valuable to people, and you know, every single time we pick, maybe you know, I can't promise once a week, but if we do once a week, I think that'd be pretty cool. Get a deep dive once a week on names that, you know, a lot of us probably care about. Yeah, equities are not reacting to the CPI and the China stuff that aggressively. And I think it's because, again, dude, I got to show you guys this stat. So this is the thing I want to show up. So take a look at this. This is also part of the reason why, we're not mooning to 6,100 on the S&P 500 yet. So we talked about this on Monday, but this chart kind of reaffirms what data we got from Morgan Stanley. Retail investors' purchases of big tech stocks are slowing. The 10-day moving average of retail purchases of the Magnificent Seven stocks as a percentage of total retail inflows just fell to 12%, the lowest since the start of the 2022 bear market. The Magnificent Seven basket includes Apple, Amazon, AMD, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Netflix, and Tesla. This share has declined by 24 percentage points over the last 2 months. To put this into perspective, an all-time high of 42% was recorded in January 2023. However, retail investors are still heavily invested in stocks, even if it looks like they are cashing in on profits, and the overall net percentage of retail inflows as a overall percentage of Mag 7 stocks are slowing down. This is actually a good thing to me. So we are getting back, as you can see on this chart right here, to 2022 levels, at least over the past couple months, in terms of retail buying, Nvidia, Netflix, Amazon, etc. And this is good because like retail is really proving to be smart money. Pound right here, almost back to 135. They're proving to be smart money. What does smart money theoretically do? Tempest, by the way, down 3%. You buy low, you sell high. And if you don't sell high, you at least don't buy high. You wait for a dip. And so retail saying, hey, we got Nvidia at 90. We're not buying at 140. Hey, we got Palantir at 60. We're not going to buy at 130. But the markets are still pumping at the same time, even if retail is slowing down their buying percentage in terms of the overall NASDAQ. As Matt Money says, maybe it means that institutional investors are buying more. And I think that data is, likely conducive of what we've seen with the short float percentage of institutional investors coming down from the highest it was back in April after Liberation Day. Palantir right here, 134.71, Nvidia 130 or 143.88. And so I think this is really bullish, dude. And we don't need to get to 6,500 anytime soon. We can take our time to get there. But the most important thing is that this market doesn't become so speculative that retail has so much excess capital, which, by the way, retail shouldn't have a ton of excess capital because interest rates are damn near 5%. And like the reason in 2021, everyone had free money to speculate on anything is because the cost of capital was zero. And so people were able to borrow money for nothing. So we still have enough restrictive rates in this economy for, I would imagine, Fartcoin to not get to 10 billion, even if Fartcoin is currently at 8% up on the day, 1.38 billion, right? And that's a good thing. I think that's not a bad thing for the broad economy. So not too bad. Nubank is up 4%. That's up a little bit on the day. Oklo. Okay, so we got an update on Oklo for those that are in the stock. This one has been approved by the Department of Defense to provide clean, reliable power to Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. Under a long-term power purchase agreement, Oklo will design, build, own, and operate an Aurora microreactor delivering both electricity and heat. The project is part of the Air Force's pilot to boost energy resilience for national security. Stock's not really reacting to that because it's already pumped a lot over the past couple of weeks based on the Trump executive orders. Never mind, the stock is pumping on that, up 10% on Oklo. It was flat in the pre-market. It is green as the markets are open. So nuclear, electricity, energy. I mean, again, Oklo doesn't really have revenue, but so it's super speculative, but at least it's speculative in the context of this growing massive S-curve called AI that's going to need a ton of energy. And people could reasonably say, why they're buying it versus the 2021 stocks we had that were, pretty much filled with nothing. We already got CPI, 2.4 versus 2.5. Already got CPI. It was good. SMR is pumping as well. 37. Yeah, that's up 8% here currently right now. But yes, it is very speculative. It is indeed very speculative. The market's just betting that we should be able to get some more momentum right here. Also, ETFs on Bitcoin, dude, they have been doing incredible. They are now totaling 70 billion under assets on the Bitcoin ETFs. And, retail's not even talking that much about Bitcoin anymore. It doesn't feel like retail is getting that excited about Bitcoin. Robinhood, Coinbase, not, in the top 200 in the App Store. This feels very institutional, whether it's the Saudis, the Chinese, the BlackRocks of the world. Past 2 days on Bitcoin, 380 million of net inflows on June 9th, 431 million yesterday. In total now, around 70 billion custodied by the Bitcoin ETFs. And they launched when Bitcoin was 30,000. Now Bitcoin's at 109. So they've kind of done their job as well. Big Bear AI, was this thing pumping today? BBAI? It did pump in the pre-markets a little bit. Now it's back down. So that one's chilling a little bit. Tesla 329, Nvidia 143. That goes red, and then Palantir just at 134 here on the day. Is Trump live? I don't think he's live. Did he tweet something? Trump just tweeted. All right, here we go. Trump tweet. CPI just out. Great numbers. Fed should lower 1 full point. Would pay much less interest on debt coming due. So important. Dude, he's right. Like, maybe not a full 1 point. And if he does a full 1 point, we're going to 7,000 on the S&P. If J Powell says, hey, instead of 4.5, we're going to 3.5, we are going to 7,000 tomorrow. But the Fed should do 25 bips, dude. It's getting stupid at this point. It's getting stupid. Let me just tweet this out. Trump just now. CPI is great. Time for Powell to cut. I agree. Time for Powell to cut. We're not going to get the June cut. It's not going to happen. But, you know, we should be getting the freaking... We should get the July cut. We're not going to get the July cut either. We should get the September cut at minimum. At worst, we should get the September cut. This is the tweet that Trump just put up. And that's the other thing, dude. Earnings growth is good, and we got rate cuts coming on the way. I mean, come on, bro. Like you put those two together, and the labor market's doing well. JOLTS is not bad. Private payroll is not bad. The non-farm payrolls aren't bad. Now, granted, you might think those are fake numbers, which that's fair. Maybe they are. But I mean, if we get a full year's worth of beats by about 20 to 30,000 every month, you know, how fake can it really be? Where's SoFi? Are we trying to fight for 15? We are trying, folks. 1483. We are trying. I think it's time, bro. I think it's time for 15. The entire market is pumped. SoFi, I don't think it deserves to be stuck at least below this $18 range. I think the organic growth is enough. You know, even if I don't like them long term compared to Robinhood, I definitely don't think they deserve to be anywhere near this number. I can explain why the street's not giving them a tech multiple. That was the whole point of the debate we had last week. But I can also understand why the street would give them a little bit higher of a multiple than what they're currently giving them right now, which would put you at around $18, which is where it was in January. So we just got to see if the street respects it. Google. Okay, so Google is a little flat on the day. Now, what was really weird last night, Google offered, the information reported, to buy out a bunch of employees in their search and ads division. And I thought this was super bullish because I was like, wait a second. If Google's buying out some of these search employees, that means A, they don't need them anymore because maybe they're focused on generative AI optimization versus search engine optimization. Not entirely, but you know, they might just be trimming some of the fat in the search division. Or B, AI is replacing those people. They don't need them anymore. The market saw that as negative, and Google fell from 180 to 174. It rebounded right here to 178. But I think the market's being stupid about this because if the market is concerned that Google is overly reliant on search and Google is consciously making an attempt to not focus as much on search by giving these employees a buyout in the search division, you can interpret that in a bunch of ways, but I would interpret that as bullish because that means they're focusing on other things. And even though we might have search revenues decline again for the 6th quarter in a row, if the market's forward-looking and Sundar lays out a plan that is much more forward-looking about their overall advertising ecosystem in regards to generative AI, then you can price that in and move forward. So I think it's kind of weird that it fell on that headline yesterday, but you do have Google right here just below that 180 level currently right now. I don't think it's because there's no demand in search. I don't think that's the case. I think it's because demand is shifting to generative AI, and some of their advertisers might be saying, hey, like, we want to start investing with you guys to help us figure out how we're going to show up in Gemini more than search because we can tell, you know, things are changing. I don't think that means that advertisers are leaving, especially because OpenAI and it's really just OpenAI. OpenAI has not really built an advertising division that's meaningful yet. Neither has XAI. None of these companies, Anthropic, none of them are doing generative AI advertising at the scale that Google could be doing it at all. And so I don't think it's about demand. I think it's about Google shifting incentives. And that to me is bullish, not bearish. The question is just, you know, if the market truly tries to recognize that. Yeah, you guys will be hearing a lot more about GEO versus SEO. Amazon, that's fair. Amazon is doing it. Granted, Amazon's website is a search engine for products. And so generative AI is sort of internally built into the infrastructure of the ability for them to show you products versus 10 blue links. Because, you know, I want to see multiple products. I don't want to see 10 blue links. So that could be an argument. There could be a market bearish thesis that some of that demand is going to Amazon instead of Google. But overall, I think Google is going to have to find a way to figure out how to shift that demand. And I think they'll figure it out. I hope they do. I mean, it would be unfathomable to be that with the amount of data that they have, they don't figure out how to shift that demand to something that they can still monetize. So we're going to see what happens with Google. Shopify right here. Where's Shop? Are we green on Shop? We are up 5% on Shop. We are up 5% on Shop. Wow, Oaklow over 60. Goodness gracious. 15%, dude. Dude, I mean, look, the FOMO's high, bro. The FOMO's high. When you see a stock run from 6 to 60 and it has no revenue, it's just Trump signing executive orders on nuclear, it'll create some FOMO. But shout out to you if you got in. Shout out. I'm not chasing at 60. That's for damn sure. And if it fell to 30, I wouldn't want to chase at 30 because it fell 50%. This is the conundrum you get in when you try to chase. Like if it falls 50%, you're afraid it's going to fall another 20%. And if it's going up, 150%, you got to have some balls of steel to be like, all right, I'm going to get in and it's going to go up another 150%. So the best thing you can do is just watch in admiration as the stock continues to moon, and be happy for people making money. So there you go. Oaklow up 15%. Congrats to everyone. $61. SMR should be moving as well. That's up about 14%. Nano Nuclear Energy, that is also up about 10.38% right now. Where is AMD? Again, we have that event on Thursday by AMD, 122. That one goes red, along with Nvidia. That one goes red as well. I don't have any major thoughts on AMD as much as I like Nvidia, simply because I think I've just researched Nvidia more. But I think AMD is going to be fine. I think they're going to be a bigger company than they are 5 years from now. They objectively are cheap. No one says AMD is expensive. Nvidia is probably a little bit more expensive, but their overall growth estimates, I think people are more confident on. But I think AMD will be fine. And also, dude, it was stuck at 70 or 70 to like 95 for a good couple months, and you're finally seeing the breakout right here. First to around 105, then to 115, and now in the 120s. We can get above 125. I think Jason was saying that's a key technical level last night. That would be very bullish for AMD in general. Is Quantum pumping today because of Jensen? Qubit, wow, 24%. What about D-Wave? D-Wave is going the opposite. Rigetti is up 8%, and IONQ is up 1%. So something is not clicking with D-Wave today and the overall sector. Maybe Jensen says something specific about Qubit, but that one's up 24%. That one is up 24%. Maybe on a specific catalyst, but also looks like what Jensen said. Oh, YouTube, I got to show you guys this real quick. And then we're going to have a guest join the show in about 2 minutes who is an OG Tesla investor. We're going to get their reaction to what's going on with Robotaxi. YouTube put out this study today. This thing was crazy, bro. This thing was crazy. Okay, so look at this. Speaking of Google, YouTube just released the report this morning. Their creative ecosystem contributed to over $55 billion of US GDP last year and supports more than 490,000 full-time jobs. This is insane. This is crazy. In 2022, YouTube and Oxford Economics reported that its creative ecosystem created about 390,000 jobs and contributes over $35 billion to US GDP. That means that the 2024 numbers jumped by 100,000 jobs and over $20 billion. It is hard to be super bearish Google when you see numbers like this. Now, I don't think YouTube is the most profitable for Google because it costs a lot of money to run a platform like YouTube that gets over 500 hours of video uploaded, not every hour, but every minute. I mean, there's a lot of cost to be able to manage that. But 55 billion to US GDP is just insane. And I feel like it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which is why we're getting this momentum. United Health right here at 306. That one is also green currently right now. Oh, they did a stock offering. Okay, so D-Wave did a $400 million stock offering. That's why it's down. Okay, that makes sense. We tend to get a little bit of red on the stock offerings. Qubit CEO, last name is Huang. Really? Yeah, pump it, bro. Pump it. Last name is Huang. Yeah, it's Huang. Holy crap. Yuping Huang. See, this is where generative AI on Google. All I typed in, what did I type in? I typed in Qubit CEO name. There you go. Perfect. Dude, that generative AI overview stuff, it's not making money off me yet, but it's really good as a product. Yuping Huang, pump it, bro. Yuping Huang, pumped it. All right, let's get some updates on Tesla and what's going on with Robotaxis from an OG Tesla investor. You guys know him. He's been part of the channel many, many times on the Tesla investor earnings live streams. Neil, what's up, man?
Hello, how are you today? Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you all are. It's been a while, a couple of weeks, I think.
It has been a while. last time we talked, Tesla was at, I think, 230. It was on the earnings. And now the stock is 330. So I have a bunch of questions for you, but let's start off with Trump Elon. Elon apologized last night, said he was on the Epstein files. Trump kind of didn't care too much, played it down, was very gracious about it. What do you think is going on with Trump and Elon? And is this something that is ultimately going to result in kissing and making up?
I mean, we have to go back to the day of the tweeting spree, right? Which I think led you to write a post, which was well received, not well received. I shared my thoughts on that, which is why I'm here today. Man, during that day, it was crazy. First of all, I was in the middle of dinner and suddenly I received like a couple of WhatsApps and it's all the same screenshot. It's that Epstein post. And I'm like, no way this is real. No way this is real.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing now? I was like, okay, let's see what happens next. And then the tweets just kept on going. It continued and continued. I'm like, my God, what the heck is going on here? It wasn't great. Let's be honest, right? It wasn't great. It's not a way to speak. And I said on X right away, like you spend. First of all, I agree with Elon, right? The spending issue is a big issue. The spending problem in the bill is a big problem. But there are ways to communicate, right? You are a CEO of a publicly traded company. Okay, we know we are already cutting you quite a lot of slack over the last couple of years. But you're talking here again also to the president of the United States, which you've spent a lot of time with over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So I find it very hard to believe that you had no opportunities over the last couple of months to talk with him about that bill, to talk with people that worked on that bill. I know that the bill was passed super quickly. It's 1,200 pages. Nobody really reads the whole thing. It's also a bill that apparently they've been working on for 14 months, according to Speaker Johnson, which is also quite strange because 14 months ago, there was another president in the White House. So, okay, that's quite a strange thing. But yeah, I don't know. This whole thing should not have happened. Right?
As a Tesla investor, so the post I wrote up was essentially around sentiment, right? And
yes.
I talked to a bunch of people. I had a friend who sold all of his Tesla yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Now people could say, oh, well, he sold at 300, stocks at 330. That's a bad thing. But he bought at 50. And his argument to me was, I'm just done with this guy. I'm tired. I trusted this guy. I'm tired of just how he's been acting. And he's a loose cannon. I don't know if he's going to be able to be the CEO that I can trust over the future. Did you at all feel when those tweets were coming out in the heat of the moment, not that you were going to sell your Tesla, but rather, man, like, how can I keep holding the stock at all?
First of all, that's why when you remember Jeremy made that video a couple of weeks ago when he sold, sold when the stock was lower, fine, but he made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I did a reaction video about that. My problem was not him selling. My problem was more about the why he's selling. Because every argument that he made, could have been made a couple of months ago at the start of the year. Same with Dan Ives when he downgraded the stock, then upgraded the stock. All of these arguments could have been made before, but yeah, price drives sentiment. Okay,
right.
Fine. And I agree. For some people, holding Tesla might just not be worth it anymore. It might not be worth the headache anymore to hold Tesla, despite the huge potential in the future. I think maybe you spoke with Roy Crossroads. I spoke a little bit with him as well. Like for some people, it might just not be worth the headache anymore.
Yeah.
It's not that we're buying a $10 billion company, a $20 billion company. We might see a 20x, a 10x in the future. This is the company already at $1 trillion in market cap. Yes, can it become bigger? Of course, a lot of companies can become bigger, as we clearly have seen over the last couple of years. But I agree. I have zero problem against people saying, you know what, at this price, at this noise level, I'm out, because I don't want my stock's reaction or the company's performance to be all about the CEO's tweets, right? We can have robotaxis, we can have humanoid robots, it can be the best products in the world, but all of that is great. And one bad tweet, the stock goes down and you forget about the product.
So
It's a problem.
you ultimately didn't sell or really change your tone because you think FSD and robotics is still so much more important than a Trump tweet from Elon.
I'm not in a buying mood anymore for Tesla, is what I'm saying. I did sell 4 shares, but that was just 4 shares that I bought when it was at 250 or something like that. So I'm recouping that part. 4 shares, was just over $1,000, but that's about it. But I'm not in a buying mood anymore until, of course, we reach let's say, a time where robotaxis have scaled. It is successful. It is launching.
But you're not buying here, but you're also not selling.
Not buying.
Is your point?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's your argument.
But I do have to add, I'm not selling because my position is already free money.
Yeah.
As someone who bought in 2019, the position that I have right now is free money and then some. So I don't mind.
I think that that was my reaction to Jeremy's video. Jeremy, I think, had a lower cost basis than you had, right? Because he was a bit earlier at $13. And that's what I can understand why you're selling, but I wouldn't have sold because it's kind of like a lottery ticket. If this guy figures it out, that gets to the whole don't bet against Elon narrative, right? Then it's going to be worth a lot more. And so I imagine you feel that you got in so early. It's kind of like Palantir, right? Like, yes, the market cap is aggressive, but if you got in at $10, you kind of just let it play out because there's such a high margin of safety.
Yes. And again, the argument that he made could have been made at 400. And then I went back to the tweets he made at 400 were very positive. So that was my big issue. But he made a boatload of money, and I don't think he's going to cry about exiting Tesla when he did.
Yeah.
So there is no problem there. And also, as a Tesla shareholder, do you own Tesla or options or just straight out shares?
Yeah. Shares, but like it's not a heavy position in the portfolio.
Yeah, no, fine. But even if, right, because this is what I've been hearing for 5 years now. Tesla is the only investment worth it in the market. Tesla is this because humanoids and robotaxi and this and that. I don't think that is true. I think Nvidia has proven that Nvidia was actually one of the best investments over the last couple of years. Palantir at the moment as well. So clearly there are a lot of other options out there, especially in the humanoid race. I mean, okay, you did it in the private, which was also a silly argument that people made, like, oh, Amit invested in Figure, and that's why he's now bearish on Tesla, which doesn't make any sense. And it goes back to every time the same thing. Very bullish, uber bullish Tesla investors will be as bad as the bearish investors. Like Uber has to be a zero in order for Tesla to be successful with robotaxis. The same with Waymo. Waymo cannot work, and that's why Tesla will work. I'm like, no. If you
there is a difference here. Farzad came on the channel yesterday and he said Uber is going to zero. And you are bullish on Tesla, but you have a little bit of a different perspective here.
I am very bullish on Uber and I'm very bullish on Google as well. So this is definitely the big difference, because I don't think that Tesla and Waymo are going to take 99% of the market. I think Uber has the distribution platform, the distribution network. I think they have invested in a lot of partnership around the world. There are plenty of AV players. I mean, in London, they're going to launch with Wave, autonomous level 4 drivers. In the UK, in London. So that's something that's happening right now. They are invested, they're partnering up with Nebius's AV ride. Also, I just think there are going to be so many players out there. The market is going to expand. I have Uber, of course, so I'm biased when I talk about it. I have Google as well, and I have Tesla as well. So I hold them all because I do think that all of them offer some value. But what we've seen, of course, over the weekend, maybe this is going back to a Waymo, is that we're going to go and see we're going to have some issues with autonomous vehicles. Since there is no driver inside, sometimes you will see what we have seen during the weekend in LA. It's just driverless robotaxi cars being vandalized. And especially since Tesla wants to do it alone, they will have to take care of the cars, right? Because Waymo partnering up with Uber or partnering up with the other fleet operator when they're going to launch in Miami, Waymo is not the one taking care of the fleet.
Right.
The partner is going to be cleaning the cars whenever it needs to. So you have a whole ecosystem of autonomous vehicles as well. Maybe autonomous car washes are going to be a thing to invest in. I don't know. But the future looks very interesting. But as we've seen, Tesla is not the only humanoid robot company in the world. It's not the only autonomous vehicle company in the world. It might have the scale and the factories and all of that for sure. But yeah, I am bullish, but I'm not blind.
Right. That's a very fair point. Very fair point. All right, Neil. So I got you for like 5 more minutes. Let me get your quick thoughts and reactions to some tickers. Nebius, I think you like this one. What are your thoughts?
I don't like it. I love it. This one is.
I thought you were going to say, no, I hate this one. What are you talking about? I was like, I've seen your tweets. I think you like this one. I think you made some money on this one.
I am up over 100% on this one in a matter of not that long. Thank you. But this has been crazy because, I mean, the whole Nebius story, I made a couple of videos about that since the start of the year. Yandex had to restructure. It's a completely new company. Is it worth the price paying today? Probably so, because it is going up based on announcements. It's not based on hype. It's based on announcements, partnerships, infrastructure build-outs. Now in the UK, I do believe that we're going to hear more about them. Friday, I think the CEO is speaking in Paris, so he's going to probably talk a bit more about infrastructure build-outs in Europe. As Jensen has said today, they want to 10x the AI compute in Europe over the next two years, I think. And with Palantir, Palantir is on the screen, but with Nebius being an Nvidia partner, with Nebius being also a European player, I think they're going to be big winners in the next couple of years. It's still a very small company, all things considered, especially if you look at CoreWeave. Of course, CoreWeave backlog and revenue, they're generating way more than Nebius at the moment. But Nebius does have AV right inside the company, which they own it 100%. So imagine if they start raising money for that valuation of that part of the business, that could add on top of it. They own 28% of ClickHouse, which you can say is a so-called competitor of maybe a Snowflake and stuff like that. They have raised money at I think $6.2 billion valuation. So you own 28% of that. That's around, $2 billion. So you add all of these components. Of course, 2/3 of the company is still the cloud business, but all the rest, TripleTen, the education part, Toloka, the data labeling side, all of that should be worth and will be worth way more than what Nebius is worth right now. And plus, as they grow and as they scale up, I think I can be sitting here on a potential multi-bagger for the future. But yeah, we are still early, and I don't want to pump anything or whatnot. A lot of stocks, I think you said this at the start, not at the start, but 20 minutes or so ago, when you looked at a couple of stocks and you said, look, we can go higher, but it will take its time when we don't have to go higher 10%, 20% every single day. But we are going to be making our way up slowly but surely. There are a lot of interesting names. You've just looked at Grab. I think they had an announcement today. You've looked before at Google as well. I think Google is still one of the undervalued plays in the market. You've talked about the YouTube data.
Rocket Lab, any thoughts on that one?
Rocket Lab, I like it as well. This is also one, I think I'm up 400% on this thing. This is also crazy. But yeah, this is, again, a developing story. It's not like, okay, it's at 27, it's already worth $12 billion. That's great. But it's a developing story because the next stage is Neutron. And if Neutron works out on time, I'd say, then it changes the whole story. Same with AST Space Mobile, which I think you'll talk about later today. AST Space Mobile.
Do you know about this one? You want to join the stream?
Tonight, I don't know at what you're doing it after the market closes.
It's at 9 p.m. Eastern. And what time is that in Belgium? 9
yeah, no,
Eastern.
Forget about it. It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. But I did talk about ASTS, I think a week or two ago at $23.
You like it?
I didn't like it a year ago, and I explained why. Because a year ago it was higher than where it is today. It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense also because Rocket Lab was at $3 billion and AST was at 8 or 9. And I was like, how does that make any sense? Like, one is still generating way more revenue than the other. The other can generate a lot more revenue in the future with higher margins. But at that point in time, it didn't make any sense. 2 weeks ago, I said, $23 today makes more sense. And now I think it's 30 something or maybe even more. I don't know. Yeah. But it makes more sense right now because we're a year later. We have more news, more developments. better information on guidance, I would still put it in a speculative basket, I'd say. Because again, when you are yet to generate a lot of revenue, I put everything in a speculative basket. But it
Neil,
is one that...
We have Palantir going all-time highs. Any thoughts on this one right now?
Palantir, my long-loved, lost love that I sold a bit too early. But yeah, in my head, it was expensive before, but regrets, of course, because I could have made even more money. But I mean, when you go from $10, $7, $20 all the way to 70, I don't think I can complain. Other than I could have gone even more.
Do you think it deserves to be at 135?
No. I mean, 135. It's what, 320 billion in market cap, right?
It is exactly 320.7. Yep.
Not bad. It is quite a lot, no? I mean, I still like the company. Of course, I would love to own it again in the future, but I cannot wrap my head around $320 billion for Palantir today. Based on what we know today, even if I incorporate even more accelerated revenue, right? Even if we continue with the 40% year-over-year growth, it is still very, very, very expensive.
Look, that's fair. Palantir right here, back to 136, folks. And look, I think any Palantir bull would agree with you. It's just, if the market for AI is as big as it is, with Tesla getting $1 trillion, even though they're declining earnings, and OpenAI getting 300 billion, like there's definitely a way you could see the market giving this valuation and maybe just giving it time to grow into it. Yeah,
but the question here is how much time?
Right.
Like how many years of future growth are you paying for right now? That's the question. But look, every week we have a new partnership announcement, I feel. Of course, we don't always know exactly how much revenue they will generate from those partnerships, not every time, but so far they've got the momentum from the stock and they've got momentum from the business. So can you blame them? No, blame the market, right? Just like we blamed the market when it was at $6, $7. Now we blame the market that it's $135. So yeah.
Last question for you, Neil. AMD. Do you like this one? And are we going to 150 by the end of the year?
I better hope so, because I have a bet in place with one of my viewers that if it's above 120 by the end of the year, he has to buy a membership for Couch Investor and Jose's channel. So far, so good, I guess. Tomorrow is the AI event keynote. Lisa Su is going to talk. I hold it as well. I've been buying more. I've been buying actually only this year. I'm up at the moment. I'm not finally, but we're at 120 at the moment. I think I know what everybody's going to say. Oh, why not just buy Nvidia? Right? This is never going to be the next Nvidia. And my response is very simple. It does not have to be the next Nvidia.
Right. Right.
I just think that $100 and especially below that when it didn't make any sense. Especially not based on the guidance that they're giving us, the moves, the acquisitions, what you're hearing from Lisa Su and from Jensen. It didn't make any sense. And so I'm not looking for the next Nvidia here. I'm just looking for AMD getting that respect. But of course, I'm not blind. They have to show us that they deserve to be worth $200, $300, $400 billion in the future, right? They talked about generating tens of billions of dollars in AI revenue in the coming years. That's great. So far, you have not given us AI guidance for this year, while the market was expecting your $5 billion of 24 to be doubling in 2025. I still expect them to give us some guidance in Q3. Tomorrow, I expect them to announce a new partnership, a new big tech company, I'd say, as a client. And tomorrow is probably going to be the launch of the MI350. And I expect more updates on the roadmap 2026, so MI400 and maybe even 2027, because that's literally what NVIDIA did. NVIDIA last year showed us Rubin. This year they showed us Feynman, which is 2027. So they show us like a 3-year roadmap. This is something I expect NV to do as well. And tomorrow it is the Advancing AI event. So I guess they'll talk about the software side of the business. which I know CUDA is very important and the reason why Nvidia is worth $3.5 trillion right now. And ROCm for AMD is behind. I agree. It is behind, but they're doing quite a lot of good things around that. And we're going to hear a lot about their developer ecosystem tomorrow. I own AMD, by the way.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Neil, thank you. We appreciate it. Neil's YouTube, I am putting right here in the chat. He has an incredible channel. I watch it all the time for deep dives on different stocks, and he posts pretty much every single day. The Couch Investor, if you have not subscribed to him, and there he is right there.
Thank you very much. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Have fun with your stream, and we'll talk soon.
Neil, appreciate you, brother. We will talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Peace.
All right, folks, we are 15 cents away from 137. I don't know what's going on. The catalyst I can give you off the top of my head, outside of China, outside of CPI, is, again, we talked about it in the morning, the New York Times has agreed to an invitation by Palantir to come to their headquarters and learn about their software. And maybe the market's looking at that and being like, hey, that's a good thing for the brand positioning of the company if the New York Times potentially retracts their entire statement that they said about Palantir. 77,000 shares at 137. 77,000 shares at 137. Usually when we get a couple cents away on a Palantir, we tend to break through. And so we're going to have to see, but it is 77,000 shares away. If we ring the bell at 137, we got to dedicate it to the New York Times. So 137, if we ring the bell, we are dedicating it. There we go, folks. 137 on Palantir. This one is dedicated to the New York freaking Times. I mean, hey, it gave us some publicity. Not the best publicity, but nonetheless, 137.07. You know it's better than 137. You know it's better than 137, folks. I think we all know what's better than 137. 138 has 48,000 shares waiting at resistance. Palantir's market cap is now $322 billion, $137 on the day. Not bad, dude. Not bad. Look, is it expensive? Yes. I am not trying to gloss over the fact that it is incredibly expensive, that the growth has to catch up to the estimates. I get it. It's just, we talked a lot about Nvidia today. We talked a lot about AI. We talked a lot about ChatGPT. We talked a lot about this entire sector that's growing exponentially. The market's pricing in that growth. They're doing the same thing for Tesla. Tesla's not even growing. At least Palantir is growing. Tesla's not even growing, but the market's giving it a multiple. They believe that growth is going to be there. And as a result, you're getting some momentum. This is not a horrible day. It's to sell some covered calls. I mean, let's just look at it real quick, and then we'll have Kris join the show. If I were to go a month out to July 11th, let's be conservative. Let's be really conservative here. Let's say I don't want to lose my shares, and I'm just betting that this. I could say Palantir, I'm going to sell a covered call for $150, which would require about $37 billion move, about $40 billion move in market cap, which it could happen, but there's not even any earnings in between this month. And I would get paid $4 a contract. Those contracts are up 35% on the day. This is why I'm saying covered calls are not crazy. If you think Palantir is not going to get to one, and even if it does, you can kind of roll that contract, because the only way you get underwater is if Palantir goes to 160, 170, which it could. But again, that would be a question of just hey. And if it does get to 150 and you lose 100 shares and you're okay with taking some profits right there, that's not the worst thing in the world. So I don't think it's crazy to sell some covered calls right here, but the market is definitely giving some juicy premiums today as Palantir continues to gain momentum. And we are hitting all-time highs on the day right here for 137. Bike Pimp, thank you for the €100. I appreciate it. Always loved your work, Amit. Or sorry, these are pounds. These are pounds. I'm getting better at that. These are pounds. Thank you for the £100. Always loved your work, Amit. Here's your cut. Appreciate you, sir. You've given super chats before in the chat. Thank you for being here. And congrats to everyone in Palantir. I mean, it's exciting. Very, very, very exciting. And the market is giving us momentum. Shout out to the New York Times for their publicity to get more people, even if in a negative way, to understand Palantir, but to learn that Palantir is a company that's out there. And hopefully they retract their statement over the coming weeks when they find out maybe Palantir is not the most evil company in the world. Christopher Patel, good morning. How are you?
God, I hate this stock. I hate this stock with so much passion, bro. It's just, ridiculous the amount of like the valuation, how extended it is. And the thing is, every day that goes by, it's like, God damn it, like how is this constantly going up? I mean, you're literally like buying something that has to earn. Forget it. I'm not even gonna try to rationalize it. Just enjoy your gains. I'm fine with my other positions. It's just seeing this every time. It's just like, Christ, what are people buying right now?
Dude, they're buying the future. They're buying AI. They're buying Carp's charisma. Chris, hold on. I gotta go downstairs. I gotta fix this. Talk to the audience. I'll see you.
Did the smoke alarm just go off?
Yeah, I'll be back. Talk to them about UNH or something, or CPI.
All right. So hey everyone, welcome to the Kris Patel channel morning open. CPI came in, somewhat muted than what the expectations were, which is good. I thoroughly believe that we are on the cusp of a disinflationary environment that's going to last maybe even the next 5 years. So, do with that what you will. If you think about it, technology is super disinflationary and actually deflationary. So that's just something to keep in mind. One of the things that I've been seeing and doing research on is multifamily housing. I think there's a bubble in multifamily housing that's going to burst in the next couple of maybe in the next couple of years. This has pretty much been confirmed by a lot of people that I've spoken to about this. And yeah, there's just been a lot of multifamily building, primarily in the Sun Belt, over the last 2 years. A lot of those places are coming up very vacant right now. So you're starting.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, my grandma, she was making some food. Smoke alarm went off, but we're good. I guess we're talking about inflation, dude. CPI. Goodness gracious, what's your reaction to this?
I mean, it's good. That's what we want to see, right? We want to see this down, like this move down. The key that I'm looking at right now is owner's equivalent rent. If you look at the chart for owner's equivalent rent, Amit, and just do a year over year comparison, and you'll see like literally it's straight move down. And so I think we're probably going to see an overcorrection in that, and that's going to lead to some really big disinflationary numbers, in the second half of this year and well into 2026. So once you see that, it's like it's pretty bad, yeah. This fucking stock, man. Sorry, Chris, man. Sorry, just goddamn it.
Or 137. Oh my goodness.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, dude, it's.
I mean, look, if you think I hate this, Steve hates this way more than I
do. Hold on, can we call Steve real quick? Hold on.
I don't have a position in Palantir. Steve has a negative position in Palantir,
Oh, we gotta call Steve. Let's see. Let's hope he picks up right here.
Me and him, we have like therapy sessions with each other. Like he'll call me randomly, like, can you fucking believe where Palantir is? And I'm like,
Steve, good morning. I am live with Mr. Christopher Patel, one of our good friends on the Market Open. And I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing, but we are looking at Palantir hit $137.30 right now. And
I am actually walking through New York City.
Okay, so I just wanted your quick reaction to Palantir at all-time highs.
Palantir at 300. Let's go.
I mean, as soon as you put out a Seeking Alpha article and put that in writing, I'll believe you.
Yeah, that will never happen.
You were going to do 150 back when it was 70. We were joking about it, but you should have done it. You would have looked really smart. You would have looked really smart if you had done it.
I mean, I did say it was going to 150.
Yeah, but you said it in a joking way. If you had put it down on Seeking Alpha, it would have been good.
Yeah, it's one of the most ridiculous things in the market. The market makes 0 sense with some of this stuff, and Palantir should be nowhere near here.
I don't know if it's one of the most ridiculous things. Is it expensive? Sure, but if we are entering into a 10-year bull cycle led by AI, maybe the market's just pricing in that growth a little early.
Look, if it trades sideways for the next 5 years, I won't have a problem with it. But if this thing gets to $1 trillion before Oracle, there's something very seriously wrong.
Yo, what if Dan Ives is right? What if in 2 years we're at $1 trillion, bro? What if he's right?
Dude, if Dan Ives is right, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just insanity.
All right, I'll call you on the market close. We'll get you on the show today, and then we'll talk more.
So, real quick, did you see what Meta did? People are not paying attention to what Zuckerberg is doing.
Okay, we'll talk about it on the close. I did see what he did. We'll talk about it on the close today.
Talk to you later.
Talk later.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, what's up, Steve? These goddamn palantards, bro. Goddamn palantards.
All right, Steve. Talk to you.
This is insane. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you. Look, it is pretty incredible, and I'm not saying the stock is cheap right here, but Chris, at least last question on this, and then we'll get into more macro. Do you at all understand how the market could be perceiving this to be worth what it's worth, or it's just pure hype and momentum to you?
I think it's a lot of hype and momentum, to be honest. Like the notion that AI is going to be a game changer is not broken. Like that's 100% true, but the valuations at which people are willing to pay just reminds me of like the 2000 tech bubble, you know? And I think that's normal. I mean, you see that with CoreWeave also. So there's a ton of companies that are moving in tandem with like this AI hope wave, but then that's where valuations get super extended. And then eventually when things come down, they tend to overcorrect, right? So, you know, right now the market's going up and people are super hyped on it, and, you know, good for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that argument could make sense, but also in 2000, we didn't have real companies that were going public. So I guess that's the only difference, right?
Well, I mean, you've got a company right now that's trading at 500 PE, you know, that's doing what, like 4 billion in revenue, worth, what is it now, almost $400 billion?
325. Yeah. I get it. No one's going to say it's not expensive. It's just they are growing 40%, whereas pets.com and these companies were absolute, nothing burgers. So
same thing with the SPACs. The SPACs were, I mean, that's what I mean. Like when things like this happen, they tend to go in one direction and they tend to overcorrect. And eventually we'll see something similar happen to this as well. Eventually, I can't say when. No one can, call a top. You can just basically avoid things that, you feel like are just riding too high too fast. And that's what I've done. And, to some degree, I can't say I don't have some FOMO, but at the same time, I'm also, convinced that, look, there's better opportunities out there with less risk, So my strategy isn't to be right all the time. It's just be right enough to beat the market. So,
138, folks, has about 49,000 shares. 49,000 shares at 138. Meta has just launched AI world model to advance robotics and robotaxis. I'm just seeing this headline. Chris, any quick reaction to that right now?
I mean, it's happening. It's happening. It's going to be very interesting to see all the new robotaxi like technology that's going to come, and maybe the notion of car ownership is going to start to diminish.
Wait, but what are they? Oh, sorry, Chris. 138. Holy crap! Did I look for 2 seconds away? We touched 138, folks. There you go. Congrats. Again, all-time highs. 138.08. Just under it right now at 137. So we broke through those 49,000 shares. We did hit 138. This is weird though, right? Because Nvidia is doing this with the synthetic data. Tesla's obviously doing it with FSD. What do you think on seeing this, Chris, that Meta is trying to do? Are they trying to be a player in this overall sector as well?
I mean, everyone's trying to take pieces of the market. And whenever new markets come around, those that actually have the money to throw some money around and invest in it, they could take a large market share. And then eventually, if it doesn't work out, they could always just divest and sell their shares at a much, for that, what is that called? That technology to competitors and still make a really good amount of money. So right now, all of this stuff is in infancy. So I think right now robotaxis are still up and coming, but the Google has basically proven that robotaxis can work and people are willing to use them. And so the prospect in the future that we have autonomous cars is actually becoming a reality now. So, right. This could be a giant growth vector for a while, for the next generation of investors. I mean, remember when Uber first came out and the concept of Airbnb, a lot of people were skeptical saying, hey, could this actually work? And then once it was proven, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to miss out on this. Like, let's get in on this. So I think what we're seeing from Meta is Google proved out the concept with Waymo. and now everyone else is kind of chasing in the sidelines, saying, "Let's get a piece of this market while it's still in its infancy." Let me just mute my wife. There you go.
I wouldn't say it like that. I wouldn't say mute my wife. Look, like he said that, his wife kicked him out immediately. Look at that. She got his ass. As soon as he said mute my wife, he's gone. There you go. 137.95, folks, on Palantir. I can't really explain why we're getting a 4% pump outside of maybe that New York Times thing we talked about in the morning. Nvidia's not pumping. S&P's not pumping. Tesla hood relatively flat. Google below 180. So this is a Palantir type of independent rally we're seeing right here. And it is getting some momentum. But this meta news breaking into robo-taxis, dude. This is why I think the market is giving such a premium to these stocks, because if every company is trying to find their own piece and contributing to the overall sector that is self-driving, Tesla hopefully a winner, Waymo a winner, etc., then that's obviously very bullish for the broader market as well. There you go. Back to 138. Back to 138 on Palantir. Kris, your wife got you for saying you're going to mute her.
Yeah. No, I accidentally clicked the X button. Like, I was trying to click the X button on her alert, and I accidentally clicked the X button on the window. So yeah. I just, a lot of these mega cap companies, they're running out of growth vectors in their niches right now. So, they have to figure out ways to keep growing. So as an example, if you look at Meta, are there really that many more Facebook or Instagram users they can go after? Right?
Not really.
There's not.
Yeah.
So how do you have the next cycle of growth? Well, you got to invest in other things that could lead to more revenues going forward. It's the same thing with Amazon, same thing with Google. Like when you own an entire industry, what's the next phase of growth? Like, so you have to invest in new verticals. And so you're seeing that with all the mega caps, which, they have the financing to basically do that kind of investment. Like Amazon right now is launching satellites for Project Kuiper, right? Because they know, like, okay, that at some point they've run to a wall in terms of growth on e-commerce. So what are they going to do? And even AWS is going to be growing at a 15% CAGR, but you can't just rely on that. You have to kind of invest in the next growth vector. So all of the mega caps right now are trying to figure out ways to grow their pie in other things as well, with the exception of, surprisingly, Apple. Like, Apple seems to be stagnating a little bit, and I don't know why they're not being a little bit more, I don't know, like, I don't know, they're just not taking risks, which is, I suppose, okay, but
yeah, and we'll talk more about Apple. By the way, guys, 35,000 shares at 139. 35,000. You can see it right there on the screen. Not a lot. So if the momentum is there and the volume is there, then we could surpass that. Kris, Trump said 100 basis points of a cut. Do you agree with that? Should we cut by 100 basis points?
I mean, I think the Fed is definitely behind. I don't know if they're 100 basis points behind. Maybe. I think right now, like, based on what I'm seeing, the data is definitely saying that there should be some cutting happening. And I mean, we have better numbers now than we did in September. The only thing that really is holding up this, supposedly, okay, this is just according to the comments by Jerome Powell and the Fed, the only thing holding up cuts are the impact from tariffs and how that could reaccelerate inflation. Now, we haven't necessarily seen that yet. And that's the justification that Powell is going to use, that we need more time to see if the tariffs are actually going to do that. But on the other hand, you're starting to see all these trade deals being announced, and the tariffs are not nearly as painful as what was originally forecasted. So in that regard, you're basically taking the air out of that thought bubble of Jerome Powell, right? Now, if we do look at the numbers for May, according to Cleveland Fed, they're supposedly a little bit higher than they are today. But remember, Cleveland Fed also readjusts their stuff based on new incoming data, right? So even though today's numbers look, kind of healthy, the other side are just kind of like taking a step back. So I think that overall the Fed is really in wait and see mode. There's nothing that seems to be breaking in the general consumer economy. So they're feeling like, look, if it ain't broken, just leave it,
Right.
Yeah.
Okla right here. 27% up on the day. This one doing incredible. Nvidia right here, 144. Again, Oklo was chosen by the Department of Defense to sign a contract. We don't have the terms of it for clean energy or for nuclear energy. So that's going to be a big catalyst for Oklo today. Kris, okay, so not only did we get a really good CPI, we also got this China update that I don't know exactly what to make of this, but do you believe Trump when he said we got 55% tariffs and they only get 10%?
I don't know. I mean, that trade deal hasn't necessarily like come out with all the full details, but there are certain things that I guess are going to be tariffed at a higher rate and some things that may not be. And overall, I don't know. The Trump tends to lean a little bit on the hyperbole side whenever he says anything. So I wouldn't just go based on that. And there tends to be a lot of carve outs with these trade deals. So yes, in practice, it could on the top line, if you just look at it very surface level, it could be like, oh, the tariff is 55%. But if you have like 80% of the inbound stuff getting exceptions, is it really 55? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people, when they see that 55 number, it's like, oh, we import $4 trillion a year from China. That means that a 55% tariff rate would mean that we're getting 2 trillion, 2 trillion, not 2 trillion. What was it? Almost, would it be two? Yeah, it would actually be. Would it be 50? Wow, that would be like $2 trillion. There's no way that we're gonna get $2 trillion a year in tariff revenue. That wouldn't make any sense. So I think there's gonna be like 80 to 90% of that is gonna be carve outs, and so it's gonna be like closer to maybe 200 to 400 billion a year in total tariff revenues coming in per year. And I think the market can live with that between a few one-time price increases, some supplier discounts, and maybe even some, higher prices on goods and
Kris,
services.
I just got to stop you there for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we have hit $139 on Palantir. I am not doing the bell until 140. We already did the bell at 137. We're supposed to go in $5 increments. I already did it at 137. 139, folks. We are going to be looking at it to see if we get 140. Resistance at 140 is not a lot, 187,000 shares. So we might hit it today, but this is pretty damn incredible at 139.
Bro, it's taking everything in me not to buy some puts on this thing and just like hope and pray. But I won't do it because number one, the put premiums are just expensive, dude.
Yeah.
So there are definitely like people out there that want to short this thing and put it,
well, dude, ironically, speaking of short float, I forgot to mention this in the morning. Palantir short float went down. We got the new numbers last month. It's down 20%. 2% of the short float, or 2% of the float is like, this is insanity, bro. Everyone's saying it's the most overvalued, blah, blah, blah. Why is only 2% of market participants deciding that they want to short this thing? It doesn't make sense. Like, or they're really scared of carp, right? It's one or the other.
I don't know, bro. I wouldn't short it because there's just some craziness to it. I mean,
well, there you go. The fact that you wouldn't short it, right? That's the point.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how much it's gonna keep pumping, man. It's insane to see, but whatever. If you have it, congratulations on your wins. Just remember, none of it's real until you sell and it hits your account.
There you go. 139 Palantir. We will see if we get to that 140 range. So yeah, essentially, Kris, you were saying that there's going to be different tariff exemptions, and that could be kind of where we get those numbers. Do you think the combination of CPI, the China deal, and then eventually Japan, South Korea, etc., is that all gearing up for a pretty epic melt up? Is that kind of how you're thinking of the market right now?
Yeah, I mean, in the short to medium term, everything looks on the up and up. So I mean, that's good. My only thing is on the underlying consumer is weakening a little bit on the bottom end of the spectrum. And then there's other sort of like problems that are out there that may or may not be highlighted right now. And they just kind of pop up on us. One is commercial real estate. A lot of pretend and extending is happening in commercial real estate, which eventually the extending is not going to be, there. Multifamily, it's the same thing. There's going to be a lot of resets on multifamily. So I think one of the reason why the Trump administration is very adamant on pushing for rate cuts is because there is some vulnerability in the economy if rates stay where they are for a lot of businesses that took on debt during COVID. And a lot of that debt is going to be starting to reset this year and next year. And so if they have to refinance at much higher rates, it may not necessarily make sense from a business model perspective because margins sometimes are a little too thin, and you could actually see a bunch of bankruptcies happen, and so there are plenty of people waiting in the wings of something, coming our way, when it comes to those specific sectors. And, like I said, that could impact us next year. So, just be optimistically cautious on certain sectors.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And based on optimistically cautious, I want to highlight what Elaine right here is saying in the chat. Elaine, wonderful woman. I met her at the California meetup. She has 60,000 shares of Palantir. Her average is $10. And she just said in the chat, I believe she has some covered calls at 138, or that she's getting ready. Yeah, at 138. She's saying, I will let those shares go away, 10,000 of them at 138. So she's saying, I will not roll them. I am letting them go, and I'm still happy to have 50,000 shares. The reason I'm bringing this up is, first of all, congrats, Elaine. You deserve it. $10 to 138. Absolutely. But number two, Kris, you just said be cautiously optimistic. I mean, we looked at a chart this morning that retail investors are not really plowing in the types of money that they were plowing in March and April. I mean, what Elaine's saying right here is an example of that. Retail is being a little cautious and saying, hey, I'm going to take some profits. I have 60,000 shares. I bought it 2 years ago. The hedge funds, whoever is buying it at 138 right now, I'd be willing to sell some of those shares at these levels. And I think that is actually going to be really beneficial, because if we do get a dip in July, August, September, which we tend to do in the September time of the year, you've got some cash on from retail to end up buying these dips as well.
Yeah. Palantir is an example of, you just need to get one thing right to become wealthy. Like once you get one thing right, it's like, oh my God, like I'm rolling in the dough, and now you're just basically chilling. And, once you, the key is once you win and you get to that certain level of, prosperity, take some risk off the table and let that money compound for the rest of your life. The last thing you want to do is be up like $5 million and then go broke. Like,
but that was a Dogecoin millionaire.
Yeah. So, it's always good to, on your way to glory, take some risk off the table and relax and enjoy that money. I mean, it's nice to open your portfolio and see the gains, but it's also nice to be able to kind of enjoy some of those gains as well. So,
yeah, 1,000%. And look, like, if you bought it at 100, selling it at 130 is fine, but it's not like really life-changing money. Elaine bought these shares when no one wanted to buy them at $10, and at some point you deserve to take to benefit off the fruits of your labor. And it's the beauty of capitalism, right? She didn't have to do anything for the past couple of years other than trust that Karp was going to figure it out. And he took her to the promised land to the tune of a 13x, 14x on her money. And it's just incredible to see this.
Yeah, absolutely.
UNH, that one's making a little bit of a move. Continuing to be excited about this one, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think this is definitely like a great value play at its current valuation. I think it overcorrected based on some of the news that came out with it. I think there's still a lot of value going forward. I mean, this company is trading at a very attractive price to earnings, and there's some structural changes that they're making in the background that are going to see them, do well for shareholders. You've got, like I said, leadership is transitioning. The one thing, bro, you should have had Couch Investor on. He did an entire video on UNH.
Okay, so I was gonna ask him about UNH, but Palantir had hit 137. I was just
I know.
No one cared about UNH when Palantir was hitting 130.
You got distracted. I saw that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm seeing my net worth go up a little bit. I'm like, we need to talk about this. But no, I'll ask him that in the future. But he's a smart guy. You're a smart guy. You both are kind of seeing eye to eye on UNH.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to kind of like reevaluate the company and just saying, okay, what are we not seeing here? I mean, some of the pain points that they've had for 2025 are going to be tackled in 2026. The business itself is a very healthy business. There's just not a lot of things that I could say that could screw this company over significantly outside of some legislative changes. But even those legislative changes, you can tackle because you have such a large franchise.
Right.
So, and the other thing is there are huge tailwinds in this industry because of AI. Like there's going to be a lot of cost savings that come. the one thing that I think a lot of people may or may not be mentioning, and maybe I'll just bring it up here, is GLP-1s. GLP-1s are going to have a profound impact on total healthcare costs. I don't know if you know, do you know what GLP-1s are?
The fat shot drug?
Yes, yeah, like Manjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic,
Yeah.
all of those things are going to have really big impacts. If you look at some of the studies that I've seen, people that are on these medications, they've seen almost like a 50% reduction in hospitalizations and cardiovascular events. Cardiovascular events have huge cost burdens that get placed on insurance companies. So if you think about the business model for UNH and some of the stuff that they're doing with Medicare Advantage, by giving people access to these things, you're overall lowering the obesity rate in the country. And in 2024, the obesity rate in the United States actually trended down. And that's with a very thin pool of people actually having access to these medications. And they're starting to become more and more prominent. They're being covered more by employers because they see the overall long-term benefits even at the current price points. So, and that's why you're also seeing that huge growth in those in Hims, right? And all these other companies. There you go. Lost 70 pounds on Zepbound.
You think that's a tailwind for UNH because they're going to sell more of the drug?
It's UNH doesn't sell the drug.
Oh, they're going to have less patients, less costs because.
Right, exactly. So right now, the way that the insurance companies work is that, okay, so you just think about Geico right now. Imagine right now, all these cars had FSD on them and they were much safer than a human driver. What would that do for Geico's margins?
That would increase them pretty aggressively.
Right? Because now less people are getting into traffic accidents. Less people are getting into accidents in general.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing with UNH in that these new class of drugs are having a profound impact on overall health of the American consumer. And that leads to less hospitalizations, less need for all these additional care that tends to happen when you're having health issues like diabetes and especially cardiovascular. Cardiovascular is a really big area of problems for people, So once you get into the zone of being a little bit overweight, like for my own diagnosis of diabetes, like one of the reasons why is because, I went a little bit overweight, and I have a family history of diabetes too, but the overweight thing definitely doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right. And because of that, I got into the zone where now I'm starting to get, I'm eating a little bit better and I'm starting to lose weight and I'm already seeing this profound impact on my health getting better. So if people have access to these medications, it's going to improve overall outcomes of healthcare. And if people's healthcare outcomes get better, that means that the chances of them actually needing hospitalization goes down significantly.
Right. So, and you like UNH over Hims because Hims is pumped a lot. UNH, you think, is just so undervalued that it's an easy mean reversion play.
Yeah. And the other thing is because they're an insurance company, one of the things that they did was they underestimated the cost of coverage. But once again, that's like a 1-year kind of issue because the year after that, you can adjust premiums to better cover those people, right? That's the beauty of insurance, right? Like when, let's say you have all these policies out there, if you see a trend in a certain direction, you can kind of adjust to that trend and actually improve the year after. So what you're going to see is better margins, better improvement in 2026 and 2027. And with the amount of cash flow that these guys already generate, there's a ton of room for share buybacks, and when they do buybacks at the current valuations, that means that future earnings are going to be even more than they were a year ago. So.
Yeah, we got a pharmacist in the chat right here. She says, I know the impact of weight loss drugs in a patient's life for being a pharmacist. And obviously it's becoming a massive, massive industry as well. Robin, by the way, folks, 75. We got 75 on Hood, Palantir 138, Nvidia 144, Tesla 331. Kris, what do you think about Elon apologizing to Trump?
I was not expecting that. I mean, bro, I know they keep calling Trump the taco. Bro, it's becoming the taco trade. Like anything that comes is just, He just flips. Everyone just flips. I don't know. It's interesting.
I think Elon, it's hard to say Elon was the bigger person here. Trump was the bigger person because he didn't take a low blow at Elon after the Epstein stuff. But Elon kind of, I guess, acknowledging that he was being dumb and just like maybe that was uncalled for. And I agree with you. I didn't expect that, but I also kind of did expect that because like he doesn't want to be beefing with the president forever.
Yeah. And also, when it impacts your companies and your business, I mean, you're a little bit more beholden to saying things doing things that are going to be, positive for your underlying businesses.
Right. SoFi, by the way, 15 looks possible. I'm pulling up resistance right now at $15, 375,000 shares. 2 cents away, 5 cents away, but it does feel if we can crack those, then we get to 15. Kris, Google dark pool. Someone bought $1.2 billion of it yesterday. Well, we don't know if they bought or sold, but I would imagine, given bullish momentum, they bought at $178.60. Do you think this one is becoming obvious as the next Max 7 to kind of mean revert back to that $200 range?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious. I mean, did you see that video of what's his name? Sam Altman. He's like, yeah, don't underestimate Google,
What?
And
that came out yesterday? Did he say that?
Yeah. Well, I think it was a little bit before. So someone asked him about like, will ChatGPT replace AI, Google search? And Sam Altman was like, no, we're gonna do what we can, but we're not replacing Google.
But they partnered with Google yesterday.
Yeah.
Compute.
Yeah. I mean, Google has, like told you, Google has a lot of assets in their quiver to deal with all of the, I guess the perceived business loss of search. And I think either Bank of America or Morgan Stanley came out and said Google search is actually going to be almost $300 billion by 2030. Like just type in Twitter, like Google 2030 search, and you'll see like one of the analyst things that came out with that.
Yeah, even if that search is more generative than not. Goldman projects search to go from 198 to 318.
Yeah.
Wow. We got Lutnick on CNBC. Let's switch over to that. Kris, you want to say, or you got to leave?
I could watch one thing with you.
Okay, we'll watch Lutnick, and then we'll be done for today. All right, here we go.
It's not really work.
Kris, what is your reaction to what Mr. Lutnick said?
This dude is so annoying, man.
The way he ended that was...
He's like a fucking weasel, bro. Like, I don't know. One thing I hate about politics, dude, and this goes back. This is not Trump. This is every single politician. They come into office and they're like, let's fix problems. And then it's like, there isn't a problem. I think that we don't have problems. I think that's a problem. Let's break something so that we can fix it. And that's the freaking mentality that all these politicians have. It's just like, stop trying to help us. Because the more you try to quote unquote help us, you make things worse, Yeah. So it just...
Did he announce anything? I kind of zoned out at some point. Like he said something. He said we didn't give up our chips, but then he didn't talk anything more about that. So Nvidia had a little bit of a red candle right there. Did you get any clarity that this is like a really good deal for us that they negotiated?
Bro, they didn't do shit, man. All they did was we're gonna tariff you unless you do this. And the Chinese were like, go kick rocks. Okay. And then they're like, okay, well, how about you give us this and, we'll consider it even. And basically the Chinese are like, all right, whatever, we'll give you small shit so that you'll shut up, and that's basically how everyone's treating us right now. In my opinion, that's what I'm seeing.
Well, I don't think that 20-minute interview clarified anything about what we actually got outside of rare earth minerals and magnets.
Which we used to have anyway without your bullshit, So it's like... Yeah. I'm telling you, it's all politics is literally just, and someone said politics is theater. That's exactly what it is. All of these people, they come on, and I think modern media has actually made politics even worse because now there's so much performance art in politics, right? Like you see this Greta Thunberg, right? Thing.
Thunberg,
whatever you want to call it. Like this performative art of we're gonna go deliver flour to Gaza. Like, are you kidding me right now? You're gonna go on some kind of stupid boat, and then she gets arrested, and Israel deports her back to Sweden. She's like, we're being held hostage. And I was like, no, you're not. They just literally, y'all were stuck in the middle of the Mediterranean. They got you. And then they sent her back. She saw the cameras being pointed at her. You know what she did? She put her hands behind her, and we were like pretending like she was like handcuffed.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna make a great politician one day. Watch, you'll see. She'll run for office and she'll win, and then she'll espouse all these stupid policies. And both sides of the aisle, man, they do this performative nonsense.
Do you think that there will be any level of meaningful details, or are you saying we don't really have anything here?
I'm sure that we'll get some things out of it, so like small victories here and there that basically put like the Trump seal on things getting better. But it's like things were getting better without you being an idiot. Like why? This is the part that I hate about politics. They cause the problem, and then when things go back to normal, they're like, look how great I am. Look how I fix things. And it's like,
yeah, like look, I think that's why the market didn't pump when Trump tweeted that we got a deal done, because he was talking about Chinese kids getting to go to Harvard. It's like, dude, no one cares about that. That was never a problem. That wasn't an issue. So I think the market is a little healthily skeptical here, because they're like, hey, what exactly are we getting?
yeah. And what's funny is the pendulum keeps swinging one direction to another instead of just someone being comments like Trump restricts immigration in his first term. Biden allows mass immigration in his second term. Now Trump restricts immigration in his third term. And it's like, can y'all just both come to some kind of consensus and just come up with like a good idea in between? And what I hate about the statement that Lutnick made was weird. Like basically Trump is not afraid to make decisions without any sort of oversight from Congress. He's like, oh, we'll just go another route on tariffs. Like, bro, like where is Congress these days? Y'all don't even have any power to kind of like say like, and I'm talking about the Republicans, not the Democrats. The Democrats will always stand up against Trump, but Republicans, there's a few that actually do have some what is it called? Some cojones to actually say like, no, Mr. Trump, what you're doing is wrong. But for the most part, the parties just basically like sign off on what their leader says. Like, when is Congress going to step up and say, no, you don't have the presidential authority to make unilateral decisions like this, And I would hope the Democrats, when they have a Democrat in charge as a president, they do the same thing where they step up and say, look, you don't have the authority to do this. There's a reason why our Constitution has these powers delegated to Congress and not just one guy at the top, at the executive level.
Yeah, that's fair. Robin right here, 74.93, Nvidia 144, Tessie 333, pound share 137.68, down from 139, but still holding up 4% or 3.5% on the day. Lords, thank you for the $100 super chat. Really appreciate that. You say great work, keep it up. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here every single day on the Market Open. And I think with that, we are going to end out the show for today. Kris, overall, your kind of macro take here is consolidating is important, but it looks like bullish momentum is leaning towards the upside versus having to go back down 10-20%.
Yeah, I think the summertime things are doing well.
Oh, I got to ask you. Sorry, I got to ask you. Hold on. Grab. Yeah. Dude, why are they raising this money? What's going on? You've had a lot of experience with convertible notes and offerings. Like, are you bullish, bearish? How are you thinking of this?
I mean, the overall transaction is very bullish for them, because what they were essentially able to do is borrow money at 0 interest for 5 years, and they were able to get this money at a premium, right? So the way that this convertible offering works is that there are people out there that are bullish on Grab, but they don't necessarily want to buy the stock, right? Yeah. So they're like, okay, look, we'll just give you convertible debt so that if, let's say, you don't live up to your hype, we won't lose any money, right? Now, so they're more secure in that regard. So what essentially they did was say, look, we will lend you this money. We have a right to convert it at a certain point to over I think like $6 something, which is a premium from where Grab is trading today. And so Grab took that money. Some of it they're going to utilize towards, share buybacks. Not that they didn't have any cash on hand, but now they have even more cash on hand. So it's a surprising thing to see, because technically Grab could just take that same money, buy treasuries with it and get almost like 4.5% on that money.
So that I would imagine you're thinking that they're gonna have to do something with the now 7.5 billion in cash they're about to get.
I mean,
they don't have to, but why would you raise $1.5 billion if you have $6 billion in cash already?
I don't know. I mean, I personally would not want to do the GoTo merger. The reason why
I would want to do it at the right price.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason to overpay. The other thing with the GoTo thing is that if GoTo just doesn't do well and it dies on its own, then, you know, why would you want to buy your competitor? Just let them die.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at what happened with Lyft and Uber. Like Uber just outpaced the shit out of Lyft, and now Lyft is like a pygmy little brother. You know, does Uber really need to go and be like, yeah, let's go acquire Lyft and become a monopoly? Like, no, that's no point.
Right.
You know,
right.
Not to mention you technically don't want to be an overt monopoly anyway. Like that's probably not the right thing, because then you'll get all sorts of government scrutiny come after you as well. So I'd probably just, I don't know. I just say effectively compete against its competitors and do well. And I think the long-term Grab's going to do well. It's just, I think there might just be a little bit too much optimism, because they do have 4 billion shares outstanding, guys.
That is fair, but there's only 980 million that are tradable because the Toots bought the rest of it. So, I agree with you. It's a heavy float, which is why this is not going to be a Robinhood or Palantir type of move.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Thank you for explaining that to us, Kris. I will see you tonight, ASTS folks. We will be doing the stream. I will have someone on from Twitter. Sam, I believe, will be joining us 9 p.m. Eastern. Kris will be giving us the full thesis. We'll have some other people that are really well-versed in the community, and they'll be able to help us as well. Those people will not have a face because they're more, they have jobs and they just can't show their face on camera, but we'll be diving deep into it. And Kris, I would imagine you are still pretty damn bullish on ASTS right here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, this is one of those that you just kind of buy, hold, and don't look at for a while, because yeah, we'll talk about it tonight. I'm not just going to talk about it right now and then have to repeat again. So just tune in tonight. You guys will get a good deep dive. Is anyone else joining us, or is it just me?
No, it's me, you, Sam, and then there's 2 guys. I don't know if you know them. You probably know them if you're on Twitter, and I'll send you their links.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Oh, shoot. I forgot to. Okay. Last 30 seconds, bro. Do you still own ABCL? What do you think?
I do. Dude, it's just been sitting in my loss harvesting position, but I'm not going to loss harvest it. I'm just going to keep it. You know, the reason why they're up, by the way, is because their original business model was they were going to do research for all these other pharma companies, right? So basically like the Eli Lilly, Sanofi's, whatever. So drug discovery, there's portions of it that these guys could do really, really well. And so they would get a contract to say, look, we are trying to, you know, solve this specific disease. This is the antibody that we're trying to target. So we want to kind of figure out how to, you know, get this thing done because of whatever. And so AbCellera would do all the research and everything else, and then they would finished product, hand it to, or that compound, they would hand it to these guys to commercialize after they've done all the clinical testing and the clinical trials and everything. Now, the challenge that they ran into was all these guys were paying them to do the research, but then they said, oh, you know what? We'll put the commercialization part on the back end. Now, the thing is, if you've did all the research for it and you're waiting on, you know, partial revenues from the commercialization of this drug, and the company is chosen not to go forward with it, that means that technically you're not going to get any future royalty revenue, right? So one of the things that they've done is they've said, you know what, we're going to do our own, you know, when we do these things, when we do this research, we're actually going to try to commercialize some of these drugs ourselves. Yeah. And so one of them got accepted into like clinical trials. And so everyone's like, oh, they're going to kind of go the traditional pharmaceutical route right now. So that's why they also are trading at near cash. Like they have 800 million in cash right now. And they're trading, I think, $1 billion market cap. So,
but you would not be a fan of buying it just because it's super speculative, I would imagine.
I mean, it depends on where you allocate this in your
portfolio. Let's say you have a 10-year time frame. You think it's worth anything?
This could be worth 20x, even 100x, honestly, if things go right. I mean, this is the company that discovered a couple of antibodies early during COVID at the fastest pace, and we're able to sell that to the government to kind of slow down the spread of COVID. So, so this company's got real technology behind it. It's not fake by any means. So, yeah, there's a lot more to it than that.
Got it. All right, Kris. Thank you. I'll talk to you tonight.
Take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Later. Folks, Rocket Lab, it is launching. There she goes. There's the rocket. Where is this? Does anyone know where it is? Is this New Zealand or is this somewhere else? And it looks like it's not going to be too controversial based on what people said before. New Zealand. Yeah, it's New Zealand. Okay, cool.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
I should care a lot more about this, bro.
We are on our way to space for IQPS, a beautiful ascent from Electron.
I have 2,000 shares. I really should know more about this stuff.
As those speed and altitude dials continue to climb up as we come up against maximum aerodynamic pressure shortly. We're now at T plus 53 seconds and counting into flight. So that call out for max Q should be heard soon across the nets.
Dude, that accent. I like that accent. That accent, the Australian accent, and then the British accent. I love those accents. There you go.
Cleared max Q.
I have no idea what this thing is doing. I know nothing about rockets.
That's max Q confirmed, and Electron is continuing nominally, now about a minute or so away from staging, and MECO on the first stage. So we're going to see all 9 of those Rutherford engines on the bottom of the first stage shut down. And then very quickly after that, the first stage will be released by the separation locks on the vehicle. Straight away, we should see the second stage Rutherford engine light up to push Electron and its payload away and onward to orbit. Just a few moments away from that now.
I don't know what max Q is. I don't know what staging is. I think liftoff means when it goes in the air. I don't know what battery jettison. I know nothing about rockets other than the rocket emoji that I will tweet if Rocket Lab goes up in its stock price. But outside of that, nothing. Max Q is the maximum atmospheric pressure. Okay, that makes sense. That's a New Zealand accent, right?
To staging.
New Zealand accents are different than Australian accents, right? They kind of sound similar, though. I feel like it's different. T minus 1 means 1 minute to go. Okay, I knew that one.
Stage separation confirmed.
That is a healthy Rutherford engine startup on the second stage now that we are clear of first stage MECO and stage separation. Electron's altitude now is sitting at over 95 kilometers above Earth, boosting along at more than 8,000 kilometers an hour. And everything is going very well so far for this mission. Now, up next is fairing separation, when the 2 halves of Electron's nose cone separate and fall away. And that should be coming up very soon now.
Okay, cool. So it's going up. Rutherford engine is fully 3D printed. Okay, that's cool.
Discharge holding nominal.
Exactly as planned. There goes those fairing halves from Electron, and hello to QPS SAR 11 on your screen there, safely integrated to the kick stage on top of the second stage as it continues on to our 575 kilometer target orbit.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Dude, I really should care a lot more about this. This is why I didn't buy it at $4. I remember telling Matt, I was like, dude, I just don't care about space. And he was like, all right, whatever.
We've got just under
Should have cared more about space.
time for this stage 2 Rutherford left to go, and it takes absolute precision and control from our guidance system for the second stage to keep it on the path to orbit. And our engineers have to take into account the Earth's rotation, the forces of gravity, resistance against the vehicle, and the angle it should be oriented to carry the kick stage to a nominal transfer orbit. Now, Electron is programmed to make any adjustments needed along the way, but so long as those two lines on your screen for our planned and actual trajectory are closely aligned, then the mission remains in the clear.
All right, it's pretty cool, dude. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Basent just said something, bro. Hold on, let me get you these Basent's tweets. I'm just getting them right now. I think he was at Congress testifying. Oh my goodness. Basent.
One of the next actions coming up on the second stage will be the battery hot swap. Now, because the length of the engine burn for the second stage, the batteries that power the propulsion system need to be swapped halfway through, with the hot in the name battery hot swap coming from the fact that the engine continues to fire while that happens. Now, when the switchover is complete, we should see the first set of battery packs eject from the second stage. So let's watch out for that now.
Yeah, so Basent said trade negotiations with China will be a much longer process. So whatever Trump tweeted today, we got a deal done. Dude, I felt it as soon as he tweeted it. The market didn't respect it. And we saw Lutnick for 20 minutes basically say nothing. There is no deal. There is probably an elementary level of a framework for a deal. But Basent saying it'll be a much longer process means that, yeah, we still need to work on getting a real deal. And hopefully by the end of the year.
Discharge holding nominal, approaching hot swap in roughly 30 seconds.
Hopefully by the end of the year, we will see something meaningful to happen. This is the battery jettison. Okay, so what exactly is the battery jettison? Can someone explain it in the chat? Let me look it up. Battery jettison. This is when...
Battery jettison confirmed.
This is the act of discarding cargo equipment or even fuel from a vehicle to lighten its load and improve safety, especially during emergencies. Okay, so that's the stage we're at right now.
A seamless battery hot swap there for the Rutherford engine, continuing on bright and beautiful past 240 kilometers in altitude now. And we've got about 2.5 minutes left in this engine burn before the second stage reaches the nominal transfer orbit to separate the kick stage.
Okay, then Basent said there is no text on the deal, just an agreement after China's presidency approved. So we still need approval on the framework of what the deal is going to look like as well. Hood is 75. Yep. Hood 75 right now. Palantir 137. Robin at 75. Tessie 144. Where's Rock Lab? Or sorry, Tessie 331.
HVB discharge holding nominal.
Nvidia 144. Rock Lab 2750. Up 1.
The trajectory that Electron is traveling along right now will carry the second stage and the kick stage to an elliptical orbit of Earth. And this serves as a staging point for the final orbital insertion that is needed from the kick stage to place the IQPS satellite on a circular path. But before the kick stage can do its thing, it needs to be separated and sent on its way once the second stage closes out. And we're still a few moments away from that shutdown, but it is coming up shortly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, dude, someone said, why is Amit so hype about everything, but not about this? I don't know, bro. I mean, like, this is cool. I wasn't like when I was a kid, I never cared that much about space and stuff. I don't know. It's really cool though. I'm not trying to undermine it. It doesn't get me that hype for like a Basent update. Basent updates get me more hype than this for some reason.
What went down with Electron's first stage separation and main engine cutoff. Only this time it involves shutting down the Rutherford you can see on our screen for second engine cutoff, and then separation of the kick stage from the second stage. Now, that second stage shutdown is a carefully controlled and planned event to make sure that the kick stage's velocity and position are exactly where they need to be for the next phase of the mission. And we can expect to hear 1 or 2 callouts from Mission Control as they monitor the guidance systems for that. Let's listen in now.
Seeker confirmed.
Okay, this is kick stage now.
Stage separation confirmed.
That's the headquarters of Rocket Lab, right?
Nominal transfer orbit achieved.
Great call out there from Mission Control. That is SECO confirmed for the second stage, with the kick stage now successfully separated to its transfer orbit with the QPS SAR-11 satellite for IQPS. Both have a bit of a journey ahead of them as the kick stage and the satellite go for a coast around the Earth before the kick stage can ignite its own propulsion system to perform the final maneuvers that place the payload on orbit. So we've got about 40 minutes or so until that takes place, but we are not done yet. We're going to take a bit of a break now, so go and grab a coffee.
All right, cool. Rocket Lab. Shout out to the launches. There you go. Someone said, didn't you want to be an astronaut growing up? You know, I think for a little bit I wanted to be an astronaut. You know what I really wanted to be? You guys are going to laugh at this. I wanted to be a meteorologist. I wanted to tell the weather to everybody every day. Rocket Lab right here, 27. I don't know why I wanted to be a meteorologist. You know, I think the word sounded cool. It's like a big fancy word when I was like 5 years old. I don't know where I learned it from. And I kept telling everyone I want to be a meteorologist when I grow up, and I would be like happy when they were impressed that I even knew what that word meant. So basically I was just trying to show off. I don't know if I actually cared about the weather. But now instead I want to be a Palantir shareholder. Yeah, now instead of the weather, I talk about stocks in the morning. I guess we talk about the climate of the market. You know, I guess that's what we do. Yeah, I wanted to be a weather girl, bro. Maybe I thought the weather girls on ABC were hot when I was like 7 years old. And I was like, oh, that's what I need to do one day. So there you go. But still, it's really good. Rocket Lab, incredible stuff. Congrats to everyone in it. I should care a lot more about this company than I do. I'm really only in it because of Matt. I just trust him a lot on this thesis. And, you know, I should learn a lot more and care more about it. And I will be learning about space tonight, ASTS, at 9 p.m. on that stream. We'll be learning about some of the differences between Rocket Lab and ASTS 2745. By the way, I was looking at some ASTS comments last night. You know, we talked about the Tesla cult being aggressive on Twitter. These guys, I was just going through some comments. These guys defend this company with their life. So it is going to be, it really is. I'm thinking more and more when you buy into a company that has that deep of a following, there is some level of the thesis needing to take that into account, because when you get aggressive dips, you will have buyers, and you will have buyers that will not care about anything other than making sure they can get more allocation. And that does help elevate the price to an extent. So we will learn a lot more about the company and the community tonight when we talk about ASTS. And then Palantir. Congrats to everyone on today for Palantir, 137.41. I mean, just incredible. Up about 3.4% of the day. We did touch 139. Market wouldn't let us get 140 today, but still pretty exciting. Now, look, if you got covered calls here, okay, so here's my thing. Palantir's trading at all-time highs. Robinhood's basically trading at all-time highs. Let's say you had a Palantir covered call this week for 135, right? I have 135 covered calls for the end of June. So I have 5 contracts at 135 for, I believe, June 27th. You only worry, or you only start to get scared about rolling those. And I wouldn't even say the word scared, but like start to be more cautious about dealing with those covered calls when you achieve your break even. So if I got paid, I forgot how much, but if I got paid $4 in premium for the contract and it's a $135 strike, 139 is my break even. Now we're at 137. Maybe we'll get to 139. In a couple of weeks, I'll reevaluate. The moment the covered call goes against you, which is what, again, I cannot stress this enough. What happened in 2024 is people thought, hey, Palantir's at 40, you know, that's pretty aggressive. I'm going to write a covered call at 50 a month out, and I don't think it's going to get to 50. Palantir then goes to 80. That's when you're screwed. That's when you have to roll the covered call out years, and those shares are stuck, or you have to pay a lot to get out of the covered call. When a stock is at all-time highs, like a Robinhood or a Palantir, and you're saying, okay, I think it's not going to get to 135 by the end of the month. Right now, it's at 137, so you're underwater on that call. In the next 2 weeks, either it's going to be below 135 and you're fine, or it's, I would say, I don't know what it's going to be, but let's say 140, maybe 142-ish. If it's within 10 to 15% of your strike price, or sorry, of your break even, because that's when you actually are losing money here, that's when you have to roll. And it is very, I don't want to say easy, but it is simplified in terms of the process of rolling a covered call when you're just within the break-even price, because it's not expensive to get out of the contract, especially if you do it at the end of the life cycle of the contract, because you have all that data that is working in your favor. It is really hard if Palantir goes to 155 for me to roll a $135 call. At least I can't roll it a month out. It's going to have to be 4 or 5 months out. Now, I don't know if Palantir is going to go to 155 by the end of June, right? Maybe it does. But at this stage, kind of what Elaine was saying as well, the reason she's going to let her 10,000 shares go at 138 is because, look, it's getting aggressive. It's getting very aggressive. It's been aggressive for a while. It is still aggressive. I'm excited to see this momentum, but I'm also not like trembling that, oh my goodness, my share is going to get called away. And I think too many people, when they get into this business, because that's what it is when you're selling calls, you're selling insurance to the market. You're like, you have to understand all the dynamics of how this plays out. You have to be ready for downside or upside scenarios. And you also have to understand what your break evens are and when to kind of make a move or not make a move. Like I would not roll my calls today because I have 3 more weeks left of theta that I can collect. And also, I'm just not expecting a 150, 145 move by the end of the month. Maybe I'll be wrong, but at all-time highs, I mean, to get those levels, it's just very aggressive. It's not what it was in 2024 where, you know, it goes on for multi-100% of return. Same thing with Robinhood. So if you've got like a 76 covered call this week, you can roll it to 76 next week. You can roll it to 77 2 weeks out. You can roll it to 80 a month out. You can keep it at 75. It is not a bad thing to say, hey, I have a 75 covered call on Robinhood. It's Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Robinhood's at 75.40. You are 40 cents underneath that covered call. So theoretically, you would be losing your shares. You can roll a week out to 75. You can keep it at that level, collect a ton of premium and say, look, I think Robinhood's going to be stuck between 75 and 80, and that will allow me to keep that premium. And then eventually I'll roll out to something that's a higher strike that allows Robinhood to be below my strike to keep my shares. So it's just a question of navigating it. It's not a question of being scared or freaking out at all. And I think too many people, you know, like feel like, oh my goodness, the price is above my strike, I'm screwed. It's like, well, you don't really understand the dynamics of even your break even because you're not screwed. However, if it absolutely runs away with you, like if you had covered calls on Robinhood at, I don't know, 68 last week or 2 weeks ago when it was 63 and now it's at 75, and you know, at one point it was almost at 80, that's when you get into an issue. That's when you need to roll way before that break even becomes hard to get out of, because then you're just going to end up paying too much money. So that's how I'd be navigating the covered call situation right now. Elaine says, I also have the 155 out to 627, 100 contracts. Yeah. I mean, like, and if it gets the 155 by 627, it is what it is. And again, if it gets the 125 by 627, you can roll that on another month out to 155, collect a ton of premium and just say, hey, in a month, I think it's not going to be 155. Now, if it goes to 185, all right, you're in trouble here. But if it doesn't, and again, with a lot of the market trading at all-time highs, writing these covered calls, you're kind of betting that it's not going to keep getting an all-time high every single month because it's already at an all-time high. I think that's kind of one of the ways to navigate it. Nvidia right here, 143.91, Palantir 137, Tesla 331, and then Robinhood 75.03. Currently right now. Rocket Mortgage, this one had a great day. RKT, there you go. That's up 4%. Rocket Lab right here is at 1%. CoreWeave is down on the day by about 4%. Nebius right here down about 1.3. Lemonade, that's up about 2%. That's above $40, which is not too bad. And you got the broader S&P 500 back at 603. Yeah, those Basent comments weren't the most bullish, but I think we kind of expected it, right? We kind of expected like there wasn't a literal deal that was ready to go. Especially when Trump tweeted about colleges and universities. Like, dude, no one cares about that. Like, so they're probably still trying to figure out exactly what this deal is. And Lutnick didn't give us that much analysis as well. HIMS right here, up 2.5%. Currently right now, again, Rocket Lab 27.34, Nvidia 143, Palantir all-time highs 137, Grab flat on the day 474. SoFi could not break over 15, unfortunately. Got to 14.98, then couldn't break over 15. Tessie 330, Robin at 74.95, Google 178. And then Palantir right here, 137.20 on the day. All right, cool. There we go. Yeah, look, if you have 54 covered calls on Hood, you're going to have to roll them out a year, maybe to 75, 80, and just wait, right? So if you had covered calls at that level, you got to roll them out. But if you had them at 75, 70, I wouldn't be freaking out too much. All right. Yeah, Oklo, great day as well in Oklo. Huge day on Oklo. If you're in that, congrats. I have a friend, I told you guys, he got in their private round at $4 to $5 average in 2018. It's dead money for the past couple of years. It's not dead money anymore. He's selling calls against it as well. He had an $85 call for the end of June. Last time it was at 50. Now it's at 67 today. So, yeah, he's doing very well. Word of the day. Here we go, folks. Let's get into word of the day. Galactoid.
Galactoid.
Oh, no. No way. No freaking way. I've got to call Steve. I've got to call him. Dude, milk or resembling milk? Are you kidding me? I have to call Steve. I have to, guys. I'm sorry. The show's going longer than what I got to call Steve. Let's see if he answers. We got to see if he knows what this word means. Come on, dude. How are we? Steve.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, I'm still on the market open. I'm about to end it out, but we're doing the word of the day. And the word of the day is making me think of you right now. So I said I had to call you to ask if you know what this word means.
Is it meatball?
It's not meatball, even though we know you love those.
Because I think that's what I'm going to get for lunch.
Dude, you enjoy your lunch every day. I am so happy that you actually...
I'm looking back right now, and I'm actually on 49th and Madison. I was like, you know what? If I order packages right now, it'll just be coming out of the oven when I get there. and to walk away from office.
Do you get patsies every day? Is that what we're doing now?
I've been going there like 2 times a week now.
I love that you enjoy lunch, dude. People don't enjoy lunch enough. You enjoy it.
No, listen, lunch is great.
Okay, so the word of the day. I just want to know if you know what this means, okay? Word of the day. Galactoid.
What did you just say to me?
Galactoid.
I mean,
What do you think it means?
I have no fucking clue.
It means milky or resembling milk.
Rock in space? I don't fucking know.
No, milky or resembling milk.
Yeah, that is some made up bullshit.
No, it's not made up bullshit. It's from the Greek root gala, meaning milk. Oh, that's why they call the galaxy the Milky Way.
Once again, some made up stuff.
Dude, the etymology of words is pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. Anyway.
Pretty incredible. Now it's here being 137. That's pretty incredible.
Dude, can you believe we both believed in this company at 130 at $7 and now it's 137? Like,
yes, because the rest of the market is being stupid, and now the market's being stupid and all. I mean, that's all this is. The market was being ridiculous because it was buying into the narrative of Palantir being a black box without actually reading a single thing about the company. And then now it's being stupid to the upside.
I don't think it's being stupid. I think it's being
I mean, it's trading at what, 650 times fucking profit? Come on.
Hold on, you have to look at the forward. On the forward earnings just 300 times, not 650 times.
Oh, so sorry, 300 times.
They keep saying the market's forward looking, right? When at $7, we were pretty forward looking on Palantir. And so the market at 136 is forward looking. That's all it is.
Okay, at $7, did you think that it was going to have a bigger market cap than Salesforce in 2 years?
I didn't even know what Salesforce was when it was $7, dude. I was new to investing.
Exactly my point.
No, but that's exactly my point. Like, this is the future, baby. Like, I didn't freaking care about Salesforce at $7. I was like, Palantir, this is what the future is. And we are in the future.
No, the future is meatballs in my hands. That's the future.
Whoa, that's a hell of a statement. That is...
Dude, there was a third fork, a third deal, and a third beat. Not a lot of places still make meatballs like that.
That's fair. That is fair. Wait, are you getting chicken parmesan as well?
No, I don't know. I'm probably not because I'm going to get 4 meatballs. And then if I get hungry later before I leave, maybe I'll get a chicken parm. You ready to go?
You should get some galactoids with your lunch today.
I mean, okay, that's not that hard to do.
All right, Steve. Are you free today on the market close? Can you join at like 4:30?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't think I got any meetings at 4:30.
We have Oracle earnings. We can talk about that today as well.
What's going to be interesting is what Ellison says on the conference.
Yes, I agree.
They're not being talked enough about on the AI landscape.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but Palantir invited the New York Times to their offices to discuss the article, and they said yes. So it's so petty, but it's so good. That could be the reason the stock's pumping too. That maybe the New York Times retracts their statement. And
they should have Jocko in the freaking conference.
They should have Karp there, Jocko there. They should make it an event. It would be fun.
Like, you need to get Jocko back as the operator for the earnings calls.
Yeah.
But real quick, what do you think of CPI?
Dude, it was great. It was freaking great. It was. I mean, it's time to cut. It's obviously time to cut.
You know that yesterday was a 99.9% chance of no cuts next week.
Yeah. We're still not getting a cut in June, but you know.
But once again, the market is telling everybody what they need to know. It is time to cut. It's been time to cut, and the Fed is being ridiculous, and they're worrying about the wrong metrics.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I'll call you at 4:30. You'll be in the car, I imagine, and We can talk markets.
Yeah, I'll probably be in the car at that point. So give me a call. I'll be there. And
All
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna order passes right now.
All right, dude, enjoy your lunch. You deserve it. Enjoy it.
When you coming in?
June 20th. I'll be there. We planned it. We'll do it.
All right, the 20th. So next week.
Yeah, next week. Next Friday.
All right.
All right. Enjoy the New York City honking. We'll talk to you later.
So, you listen, as long as I'm not driving this, I can't get in trouble, right?
That is true. That is true.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Later. Shout out to Steve. I can't wait to try to Patsy's. He keeps every day he tells me about this freaking restaurant, dude. Moon Money, thank you for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the 20 Dolores right here. Thank you all for being part of the channel. Apparently, Robinhood just opened up the IPO for AIRO. That's what you guys are saying. Let me see if I see it. They're pricing it at $10. Yeah, they're pricing it at $10. Well, no, they don't have a final price yet. I don't know, bro. Kind of IPOs have been going really well. They're saying $12 is the, so you have to do a 20% buffer. Should we put in an order just for the hell of it on an IPO? I just know they do drones. That's it. That's all I know they do is drones. That's it. Should we put in an order? Should we try it? All right, we're going to do a straight degen bet. I have no idea that much about the company. We'll try to put in, 65 shares? Can we do that? 60 shares? All right, there you go. We're making a conditional offer to buy it at $12 max. There you go. It's queued. I'll probably get this up to 100 shares. I should just do some due diligence on this company. But it's $10, bro. Kind of like $10 is that's a nice price when it comes to the IPOs, because that's just like purely from a speculation perspective. What I'm doing is speculating right here. It's pure speculation. That's like one of those SPAC prices. That $10 can easily, we saw that with Newsmax. We saw that with Webull. Aero Group is a US-based autonomy and air mobility company. Also, defense technology is definitely getting momentum. Anduril just freaking raised at $30 billion. Voyager's about to go live. VOYG. Yeah, you're right. They are about to go live. That one I'm not buying. That one I just know nothing about. And also Robinhood didn't offer it. All right, they will go public in a bit. All right, I'll get this to 100 shares. By the end of the day, I'll queue myself for 100 shares. And we'll see. It'll be a 100 share gamble. I just did 50 right now. It'll be a 100 share gamble. And we'll see what happens. AIRO is the ticker. They do drones. I'm going to go through their S1 right now. Now that Robinhood's actually giving us an allocation, I'll look at their valuation and say if any of it is reasonable. But again, these IPOs are not based on, I mean, Circle, I don't think anyone thinks this is a $25 billion company, but we just passed massive stablecoin legislation. That's enough. And up another 12% on the day. Yeah. I mean, that's enough to get it a little bit of a pump. All right, cool. So the IPO is expected. It's expected on Friday. Okay, cool. So if anyone's interested, you probably gotta put in your orders right now. If you wait a little bit too long, you're not gonna get a chance. If you do have Robinhood, some of your other brokerages might offer it in a different way, but we should be getting that IPO on Friday. IPOs are back. IPOs are back. I just did 200. Yeah, it looks like IPOs indeed are back. The thing is, I would have sold, dude, if I get a pump on it, I'm selling, bro. I'm like, it was so funny. Someone sent me a screenshot because they were trying to sell Circle the day they got in. And Robinhood was like, hey, you will be classified as an IPO flipper. We won't let you do any IPOs for the next 2 months. I'm like, dude, you're up 15 grand. Classify me whatever you want to classify me as. I'm taking the 15 grand and I'm running. I'm out of here. So if we do get a pump, I'm flipping these shares. I won't be able to participate for the next 60 days, but yeah, this is purely just kind of betting on what it could look like as well. AIRO, that's the ticker. Uzi, aren't you, dude, don't you have a job? Uzi said he got a new job and he said he would not be able to be part of the market open, market close. This guy was straight capping, bro. This guy's been here for the past 2 hours. I've been seeing your comments. You better have me in your headphones right now. I better not be on speaker in front of your office, because they're gonna hear I'm saying this. This guy can't get away from the open. You guys saw that, right? On the Sunday Futures, that we made such a big deal out of it. We're like, all right, Uzi, we love you, man. Thanks for being part of the channel. He's like, guys, I can't join the show anymore. I got my new job. We're like, all right, congrats on the job, man. This guy freaking, he's in here. My manager's in Chicago. All right. Well, we need to make sure your manager takes more business trips so you could be here every single day. I love it. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. How do you get the AIRO IPO? Again, on Robinhood, it literally, you just type in AIRO on the search engine or the search bar, and then it pops up. It pops up. It'll look just like this. Just like this. And then you say, I'm interested. For me, I have to say edit request. And then you'll be able to do it. $10 is just an attractive price, bro. Either it tanks and it gets down to freaking, I don't know, $7-8 and it's a horrible IPO, or it's probably oversubscribed. You're probably not going to get $10. We'll have to pay 12 to 15, and then it pumps to maybe 25, 30 if there's any hype. Now, I don't know if there's a big community around this. All I know is autonomous drone technology and defense tech is having a moment based on what Anduril just raised, and that could be a catalyst for this one as well. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back on the market close. We got Oracle earnings today. That's a big one. And then we'll have Steve join at 4:30 to give his thoughts on the broader market, Oracle, and everything else that we will be talking about later today. All right, that's it. Fun stream. 3 hours and 39 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Again, I love doing this every single day. Bricked up in the studio. Got the bricks with us. Market open, market close every single day, no matter what. And we're going to keep this going. All right. I'm going to go downstairs, give my grandma a hug. She made tea for me in the morning. She's like, can I make tea for you? I was like, yes, you can make tea. She gets so mad every morning. I don't let her make your tea, but here you go. There's the tea. I didn't drink too much of it, but nonetheless, she was just very happy that she was able to make the tea for me. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.